It's intense. I don't want to break it up. Someone speak. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's PC. We're at episode 56.
56. We're getting up there. We're getting old, Ed.
No, we sure are, man. But, this is it, man. This is our episode. It's going to be focused on Batman, the animated series. You're watching this. I'm sure that you dug it at one point. If you're younger and haven't caught up to it, that meme of Batman with the thumbs up, that's what this is about. So,
oh, yeah.
We're opening up the theme of Batman the Animated Series. So thanks for joining us tonight, whether it's on the Facebook stream, if you're joining us on YouTube, you're joining us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you found your podcast, Spotify, Apple iTunes. Thank you so much for the support, as always. And with me, as always, is Jason Frzetic. Jason, what's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, Ed? Oh, I'm so excited to be here, man. Batman the Animated Series. Mask of the Phantasm, which I was texting you as I was watching it, going, "Oh my God, is this good? It doesn't have any right to be this good."
It's really good.
I don't think anyone's tuning in thinking you and I are gonna shit on Mask of the Phantasm. So
no,
I'm not ruining anything, but yeah, I'm excited to be here and talking about it. I think though, before we get started, we have to pay tribute. It's been a little while since we've unhassled the Hoff.
We got to catch up.
I got to pay tribute. So we're in season 2, and this was season 2, episode 2, called Creature. And Ed, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you remember the movie Species?
Yes, I do.
And so I think did the writers of this episode, because it really did feel like Species, except instead of an alien, it was a mad scientist who created a woman who was turning into a sea creature, pretty much, because that's how Mitch gets involved. So she's becoming a lizard in the sea. It's Angie Harmon's not even in this episode. Man, I was excited to get to this weird I want to be the X-Files part of this show. That's kind of why I started watching it. But man, am I missing the Hoff in the chicken costume? I'm going to tell you something, and this is not hassling the Hoff. I fully believe that at the end of that first season was all the Hoff. The Hoff got his clout. He did what he wanted, right? And then at the end of that first season, the network suits came in and ruined a perfectly good show. So anything bad I say about this show from now on counts as unhassling the Hoff, because I really feel I'm defending his integrity as an artist.
I think you definitely are. Quick thing, you can hear that, can't you?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so give me 2 seconds. Sorry, my dogs are losing their minds for some reason.
That's okay. I'll rant some more, guys. It was a girl turning into an amphibian. This was Baywatch Nights. This was Mitch in a chicken outfit, and they were saying Shaft, and his ex-cop partner's not there anymore. What the hell's going on?
I don't know, but I did find a way to shut them up, because I think they maybe thought I left.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, because my wife Angie's not home tonight. She's bowling with her company, so the dogs are up here, and I guess they thought I was gone once they heard me. Now they've zipped it, so we can continue. Right. Or they were maybe really into Baywatch Nights.
I think that's what it was. I think they are just as upset as I am at the sudden tonal shift of Baywatch Nights and the viewing away from Mr. David Hasselhoff's original view of this once epic series.
So you're not enjoying the wacky version of Baywatch Nights so far, is what you're saying?
Not as of yet. But okay, I don't know. Hope, because it's taken itself too seriously. It didn't take itself seriously in the first season. They knew what they were doing, so it was fun. This season, they're taking they really yeah, it's a sea monster. Yeah, it's a species creature. This is serious stuff. There's no tongue in cheekness except on the B lines, and you so the B story parts will be Donna is really good at exercise and she wins a bet and it's funny, and you know how I feel about weird tonal shifts like that. Yeah. That's the literal killer for me. All I ask is that you set up a tone and you see it through. That's all I ask.
I can agree with that though. I can see that.
But I've committed. I'm going to continue going. Let's hope it gets a bit lighter as we get through it.
Hope so, because you would think when a show shifts to sea monsters and aliens and weird shit that it would take itself less seriously.
Right, exactly. But
no.
oh man, it's so grim at this point, and it's dark, and like the opening has them running through a cemetery, and it's so dark, and it's like honestly, and I don't mean it like, but it's sort of like watching the Zack Snyder parody. You know what I mean? You know when people parody Zack Snyder about his grim and bleak and darkness. That's what it's like. It's almost as if the parody of Zack Snyder got his hands on Baywatch Nights.
Interesting. All right. Well, hopefully it gets better moving forward, because I know you're fully committed to this, and I definitely appreciate that.
If there's one thing I can do, it's commit to stupid things.
Exactly. As we kind of have too, because if you look in our top left, we have our logo. We actually have our show logo now, which is a jar of piss, which is pretty much if you got the reference of what Granny's peach tea is, it's a random reference to Batman versus Superman. So there you go. You could actually see firsthand what it is, and that'll be our logo moving forward. It might be our wallpaper at some point. Who the heck knows? We'll see how we're feeling. All right, quick thing we wanted to get to, though, that dropped earlier today, I think it was like late afternoon, maybe. There was some shifts in the release calendar for DC for this year. You know, like if you've seen the Batman, or if you've seen posted on our page there, the DC Heroes minute trailer that was awesome and got you hyped up for the year of DC releases, and they're not all coming out this year now. So they might have to rework that trailer a little bit. So the quick rundown is the DC Super Pets project, which looks like it's going to be one of those. It's an animated movie, obviously funny and for kids, but we'll have adult jokes mixed in here and there. So I can dig those, and we will be covering it. Maybe Jason, maybe you take Finn to see it.
I mean, it depends. It depends on how long it is, because actually I did tell you guys, like, we took him to see it. His first movie was Shang-Chi. So you could take him to see a movie. It just depends on how long he can sit there for. So maybe.
So that moves from May 20th, 2022 to July 29th, 2022, which was the release date for Black Adam.
Okay.
So there's that. So we won't be getting that. You got to wait a couple of months, so that's not the end of the world. I don't think.
I could live with that.
Yeah, Black Adam though moves from July 29th, 2022 to October 21st, 2022.
Okay.
So listen, we've been waiting for this movie since like the beginning of time. I'm pretty sure it was like before Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, The Rock was cast as Black Adam, maybe a little bit before.
I think so.
So. Listen, at this point, waiting from July to October, I don't care. Whatever. Not a big deal for me. But what is really interesting, though, is that Shazam, Fury of the Gods, was supposed to come out on June 2nd, 2023, has been moved up to December 16th, 2022. So we're actually getting that half a year earlier, and it does come out 2 months later than Black Adam.
You know what?
Interesting. That's interesting.
I'm gonna say this: if I had to give up seeing the Pet movie and Black Adam later to get Shazam 2 earlier, I'm okay. That's a trade I'm willing to live with. Because let's just say we've been waiting for this Black Adam movie forever. I mean, this guy makes Godot look punctual.
Yeah.
Sorry, and it's a literary joke I stole from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It was nice. I liked it though.
Thank you. But yeah, no. So I'm okay with that, to be honest.
Yeah, but I also wonder too if there's maybe a post-credit connection between the two. Obviously, Black Adam and Shazam are.
There's gotta be
connected. So I wonder if that was a strategic move on their both parts, because you rarely see a movie moved up a half a year at this point. They always usually get moved back.
It's true.
So
I mean, I completely think it could be a strategic move. Like, I think that's probably the reason they moved Black Adam back as well. It's like, well, we can't release Shazam too early, so let's kind of meet them in the middle, so they're close. I just don't know why they wouldn't have planned that to begin with.
I don't know. Again, unless there was some sort of recent thing. Again, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's a post-credit tag or
Oh yeah,
something like that that's
something like they
linking them.
added to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
point.
Because a lot of those usually, I mean, the Avengers filmed the shawarma scene the night of like the premiere
That's right. That's
and
right.
added it after the fact. Like I actually got to see the Avengers a couple of weeks early due to some like Hot 97 screening thing that they happened to catch.
That's, by the way, your superpower.
Seeing movies early.
Your superpower is to get tickets to see blockbuster movies early. That is exactly your superpower.
I mean, it needs to be a little. Yeah, you're right. Because does the Batman count though? Because that was free to everybody. That was available to everybody.
Yeah, of course it does, because you still were able to get tickets. You know how many times
Okay.
you've gotten us tickets to opening night things, and I tell my students, and they're like, "What? How the hell did you do that? Because you have tickets? Because I was up all night trying." And I just go, "I got a guy, man, a friend of mine who gets it. Yeah, he takes care of it." So no, that's a bona fide superpower.
All right, fair enough. But I'm talking like not they're usually like the fan early screenings. But yeah, but the Avengers though, there was no shawarma when me and Angie saw it 2 weeks before the movie came out. So there you go. So that's in my opinion.
They hadn't even eaten the shawarma.
No, shawarma was not a thing. It was not in canon yet.
Wow, there was no canon shawarma in the MCU when you watched Avengers for the first time.
No, which is why when I heard, I think Robert Downey Jr., I forget what show he was on. He was on one of the late night talk shows. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we got to go film something now." And I was like, "What? Son of a bitch." So that's that story. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what's going on here with the Flash and the Black Adam and stuff, with them shifting things around. The shitty news, though, or somewhat, is that the Flash movie that we're all waiting, because we're going to get to see. No offense to the Flash or Ezra Miller's Flash, but we're going to see Michael Keaton as Batman again. So that's a pretty big
deal.
Deal.
Wait to see Batman 3.
Exactly. And we're also going to see Ben Affleck's farewell as Batman in the same movie. So there's a lot of anticipation for that. That is moving from November 4th of 2022 to June 23rd, 2023.
Oh, why? This is the one. This is the one DCEU property I'm super excited about.
Are you not excited for Black Adam? Or Shazam?
I mean, I said super.
I mean, I know. Okay. I understand. I know you know how much I love Shazam.
Yeah,
I've said it here. But...
I'm excited to see Shazam. Like I'm my normal excited for superhero movies. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there are certain superhero movies that really get me like Far From Home or No Way Home was like, oh God, I gotta see this goddamn movie. You know what I mean? Like it's that level for me. So that's why I'm super excited for it.
Okay. I know that's fair though. And then we have Aquaman 2. Will be moving from December 16th of this year, which is now when Shazam 2 is coming out, or Shazam Fury of the Gods. That's moving to March 17th of next year, of 2023. So that's a 4-month delay. I mean, whatever. Okay. Personally, that's not that bad. But
it's not the worst thing in the world. Like that I'm gonna love the hell out of that Aquaman movie, but I'm not dying to see it.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna love it, but it's gonna be there.
Yeah, we talked about it, but
yeah.
If you need to see our reviews of the DCU films, we did that about a year ago.
That's what we started with. That was
started off.
God, remember when people used to call us a DC podcast?
I know, and I feel like that's been coming back lately, which is kind of unfair because we spent the whole time on Venom and Spider-Man and all MCU shows last year. I mean, come on, guys!
Yeah, we follow the content.
We give love everywhere. Yeah, we exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. So I was explaining to someone earlier today, like if DC wasn't pumping out content at an insane rate, we wouldn't have a weekly show.
No, yeah, that's true.
It would be like bi-weekly, once a month or something.
We don't cover the CW because it's DC. We cover the CW because, well, we need to talk about something in between these big blockbuster movies, damn it.
Yeah, it's on, man. We're not going to sit there and we're going to run out of old movies eventually, guys.
It's true.
So it's going to take a while, but, it's going to happen sooner or later. All right. So that's pretty much that on the DC stuff. For the release date shifting. Personally, I'm fine with it. Not too big a deal.
Yeah, The Flash is the only one I'm really disappointed with.
Agreed. That's I think the biggest one because
Yeah.
it's getting delayed 7 months.
Yeah, it's getting delayed 7 months, and again, like no joke, and as you said, no, I'm not crapping on Ezra Miller, but I'm getting to see Keaton as Batman again. I'm getting to see Batfleck. Like I'm getting so much Batman.
We're getting
Like
a lot of Batman, and I feel like I posted that meme on our Facebook page earlier. It was the four. I was like, "Oh, look, Batman! The year of the Batman for 2022." Like, no.
Yeah.
Batfleck and Keaton. Well, yeah, Batfleck and Keaton are being saved for next year.
Yeah, it sucks.
But I know what's interesting though is that the Batgirl movie that I saw there was a release. I don't think it was like officially official, but there was it's flying around the last week or two. That's supposed to drop later this year, and he's in it.
Batfleck?
No. Keaton's Batman is in the Batgirl movie, which is set in the DCEU, which also has J.K. Simmons, Commissioner Gordon in it. Exactly.
Okay. All right. See, that's why I didn't understand, because that makes no sense from what I know of these properties right now. So, but hey, I'm on board. Hey, if Keaton's coming back, I'm there, man.
I'm assuming that's getting delayed though, because I'm assuming his introduction to the DCEU is going to be through the Flash movie.
It's going to have to be, because I don't think it'll make sense otherwise.
No. So, all right, we'll see that once we get around to that. But yeah, let's jump into our quick CW stuff because we only had two. A light load of episodes for compared to normal.
Light load.
So we got Superman and Lois season 2, episode 7. Yeah, I felt this episode very strong episode, very much family oriented, which this show typically is a lot. But there's a lot of, I thought there was a lot of simultaneous brother quarrels going on at the same time.
For sure, yeah, they really do parallel Superman and Tal and the Kent boys and what they're going through. Like, there's a parallel between trust, fighting, and then trying to trust and reconciliation, and finally almost forgiveness. I mean, at least it's almost with Superman, of course, but I actually. Again, such a smartly written show. I really enjoy this show.
Yeah, I know, and I found myself thinking again, like, pretty genius to tell a Superman story through the lens of like older family, and we see Clark, who loses his shit with Jonathan. Eventually, the episode really puts him in his place. And
I love
Lois,
that scene.
Yeah, Lois is kind of dealing with the boys and yelling at them because they've gotten themselves to some crazy shit. But yeah, so Jonathan pretty much takes in the beginning of the episode. It does open where the very first scene starts off our storyline of the episode where Superman is locked up with Tal, with his brother from last season, and they're in the red kryptonite cell, depowered or weakened at least at that point, and they're still trying to the military's trying to find Bizarro. So there is that. Then it jumps to Jonathan Kent, pretty much with his girlfriend trying to sell him a whole bunch of the ex kryptonite inhalers that were there. And there is at the same time though, there is a dog sniffing, like a cop in there who's looking for narcotics. Was a drug smelling dog in there who's about to bust them. And I had one quick question about this though, is that would the dog be trained to smell kryptonite?
I had the same question. Like,
okay. It's not just me.
No, because here's the thing: to train, from what I understand, to train a dog to be able to smell drugs like that, and that dog, by the way, must be a metahuman itself. It must be taking that kryptonite because it smelled it down the hall in Jonathan's jacket. I mean, it was ridiculous. Yeah. But I mean, that takes time and breeding. You don't just and the kryptonite's a fairly new thing on the market. Mm-hmm. Like, it just came out because of what happened with Tal last season. So a couple months it's been out. I don't know if a dog of that age would be able to do that. Like, I don't know. I just, it strikes me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know shit about raising dogs. So, like, if I'm wrong, call me out on it. I don't care. But
no, you're on point right now, because these two definitely couldn't do that. So.
But you're going to train a dog to do something. It has to be from a young age like that, and it takes time, and that's it.
No, you're right. And I just was like, well, if it's a drug sniffing dog, to get a hold of kryptonite, I thought was a little bit of reach, but whatever. Hand wave. A hand wave, as these.
Hand wave. It's fine.
It's all good. These are not the drugs you were looking for.
These are not the drugs.
So, Jonathan gets busted for that. He has 20 inhalers. He takes the fall for his girlfriend because his girlfriend's on hard times, and he thinks he's going to be the macho guy and stuff like that, and it blows up in his face.
Is this not the most believable fucking teenager act you've ever seen?
Oh, absolutely. That's the part I believed in 100%, way more than the dog sniffing over there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, what I really like about this, and you know me, and this is kind of why I'm not really digging Naomi, is I don't really like stuff centered in high school with teenagers now. Like, to get into it new, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I was in high school when I watched, so I can watch the shit out of that. But you know, and it's because I work in high school, I work with kids, I know how unrealistic it is. But what I love about this show is those two kids, like, I could see they're real kids to me. Like, that is something a freaking 16-year-old boy would think is the exact correct decision. You know, I'm going to take the fall for my girlfriend, and I'm gonna be the protector, and I'm gonna shut my mouth, and I'm gonna alienate myself from my whole family to protect her. And it's like, that's completely believable. I might have done the same thing if I had even a prospect of a date in high school.
Oh, I totally would have did that in high school. Yeah. No question about it. The zero, yeah, there's no question about that. And I probably would have gotten what Jonathan got, sent home, screamed at, punished by the parents and everything like that. He gets yelled at the end of the episode once Clark does eventually come back, as spoiler, which obviously is what we're talking about. But guess what? Clark Kent eventually comes back home after being in prison, which, by the way, they do state that this whole episode takes place in one day.
Yes.
It is one day. So by the end of the day, he's home.
Yes. And I do want to say that that's actually my only problem with this episode. Not that it takes place over a day, but the things seem to happen kind of too quickly for me. Like, he's put in prison, and that directive was approved by the general, right? That wasn't a lie. Mm-hmm. And then he orchestrates an escape, which, if the general had said that his imprisonment was for real, then that actually is against the law, right? And then so when the guy goes after him, the I forget his name, the captain, whatever, the guy who's not Colonel
Mr.
Wayne.
Anderson.
Yeah, there you go. How could I forget that? Like, juices up and goes after Clark and nearly beats nearly kills him. Yeah. And almost kills his brother as well. Like, and then by the end of the episode, like, and Tal actually says this, like, Tal wakes up and he's in the prison again, and he's like, oh, I see. So you've cleared up your misunderstanding. They apologize. You trust them again. And that almost felt to me like Tal, the character, was hand waving us. Like, like it. I mean, I really did enjoy this episode a lot, but that just was a bit too much for me to buy. It happened too quickly. Like, how does Superman go? How does Superman come back from that? You sanctioned me to be attacked and imprisoned with my psychotic brother? Fuck you, government. Said Superman in this show, not me. Don't flag me as a terrorist.
That's true. All right, YouTube, be careful with that, because we know you're the ones who always flag people for random shit.
Yeah, that was, if I was Superman and I was just abducted by the government, that's what I would say. I wasn't saying it now.
Well, I do think I guess let's focus on that part, because I mean, whatever. The quick thing before we got to the Superman stuff was Lana's continuing to deal with her rival,
right?
And as the campaign is still going on, and he's using this whole thing of like family values is the way to go and all this other stuff, and she does flip the script on him, which I didn't see that coming. That was pretty smart.
That was awesome. Like, when she comes down there and she's like, and so, yeah, of course I would take care of us, because I look at this community as family, and you attacking one of your family in the community while they're going through the hardest time in their life. Like, and I love the extras who are just like, there's that one extra who's like, yeah, I'm holding. He's like,
Yeah, no, I saw it too. No, he was like, oh, screw you, buddy. I'm out of here.
But yeah, I thought that was a cool scene. I appreciated that.
Yeah, that was pretty smart, because the guy she's running against is using the whole thing of like her husband's infidelity as like a broken home thing and blah blah blah. And the daughter, actually, Sarah, reaches out to the girl that she kissed and she liked it.
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago because I guess she had a broken home too and was looking for advice, and they met up in a diner quick, and they're like, hey, we'll be friends and stuff, and it's okay. So that's pretty much like the backstory stuff. But back to the Superman stuff, though, because it was pretty strong, always strong on the show. But yeah, Anderson, he sends his troops in to like torture Tal to pretty much bait Superman into giving them the location of Bizarro.
Yeah.
And he gives them the coordinates for the Fortress of Solitude, which I thought was kind of nuts, though. That he sent the military to the Fortress of Solitude.
Right.
And they look there, and it turns out he's gone, but he really went to Tal's Fortress of Solitude in the desert, which we've seen before a couple of times. And then Bizarro,
because that's where his mother is, right? That
that's where his mother's conscience is. Yes, correct. So that's where that's going on. They're hiding out Bizarro there. Big fight ensues because Mr. Anderson decides to go ahead and juice up, and on these inhalers that were found, so he can fight them. He gets into a fight and ends up killing Bizarro.
Yeah,
you think he's dead though? I don't know.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, I mean, it just seems he killed him, but I don't know. I don't think he's dead. I'm
gonna be kind of bummed out if he is, honestly.
I am too, because I kind of liked what they were doing.
Yeah, and we got some quick information regarding Bizarro, which I thought was very interesting. So he does speak backwards, apparently, because when Tal first shows up, he's speaking, and Tal says straight out, he's speaking gibberish and backwards. I was like, oh, all right, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and the way their mother described it, his words flow backwards. Like,
yes,
so it wasn't the cheap like we were talking about, like not cheap, but it wasn't like the campy everything I say is opposite. Like,
yeah, like I say kill instead of save or life,
right,
or whatever.
Right. It's just that in their parallel universe, things run backwards. I guess
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever it is, but that was a cool flair. I liked it.
Yeah, and then he also spills the beans, though, kind of like, listen, on my Earth, we were like, there was a version of Tal, and we were inseparable, and we were brothers, but your wife got in the middle of the way and stuff. And then Tal is like asking, where's this guy? And where's this woman? Can I find her here? Yeah, I liked him a lot in this episode.
I did too. I really like this actor. I'm glad that they kept this actor and this character around. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And like, even when we go, like, it cuts away and comes back later, and Tal's like, I still can't get over the wife. Like, like, I love that he keeps kind of harping on it. It's so funny. And I also really like that when they're torturing Tal, and Clark gives them the coordinates to the Fortress of Solitude, Tal knows it's the Fortress of Solitude and doesn't say anything. Like, so I actually really do like the brother stuff in this.
It was really, he was really strong in this episode. Really strong. And the end of the episode, though, was something I honestly didn't see coming. So Mitchell Anderson ends up going rogue, apparently leaves the U.S. Army, and goes and he reaches out to Allie, because that's mentioned, and brings her the damn amulet that the opposite one. So there were two. Now she has both of them in her possession, which obviously the shit's going to hit the fan, as we mentioned last week. That person will be granted like ultimate power, and kind of like will be Thanos in a way, for this universe. So I'm really curious to see how that shakes out. Unfortunately, they're taking a week off next week, so we'll have to wait 2 weeks to find out what's the next step in this.
How many more episodes we have left of this?
So this was episode 7. In 2 weeks we'll get 8. Last year they did around 15.
Okay, all right. So we still have a significant.
Yeah, we're about halfway.
Okay, the season. All right. Because I'm curious where they're going with this, and I'm hoping they don't try to. I was just afraid like they were coming to an end, and it was going to be like a quick wrap up. Because I really want to see them take their time with this.
Yeah, no, they're pacing it pretty well. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Because all the storylines I'm into this year, the brothers stuff, Jonathan and Jordan.
Same here.
Yeah, they've got
some
really cool stuff. Yeah,
I will put this up there with like the Prestige. Like I consider in my head the Prestige CW shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this and Black Lightning, I think, are the Prestige shows. Because they're a bit more serious. They have a different tone. They're not goofy or campy at all, and that's fine. Like, Legends is campy as shit. It's my favorite. But it's not a Prestige show. And same deal with Flash, and so like that. I'm really happy to see that the CW is still trying to make good drama around superhero shows as well as their goofier stuff.
Yeah, you don't want. I mean, if you're gonna have 6 shows running, you can't have them all have the same exact tone.
Right,
So,
exactly. And to be honest, I was afraid that with the absence of Black Lightning, that there would be a vacuum for that because
yeah.
really Black Lightning was the serious. That's why it existed in its own like pocket universe until that last season when they
Mhm.
brought him into the Earth, whatever the fuck we're in with the
Earth
Flash,
Prime.
Earth Prime. Thank
Yeah.
you, because it was so tonally different that it was like more of like a drama with superpowers. So I'm glad that something else has taken up the mantle, and I'm glad it's this because I'm really, really enjoying this version of Superman.
Yeah, and I'll even throw early Arrow. Like the first 3 seasons of Arrow weren't campy at all. They were pretty serious.
I agree. No, I agree. Arrow's just a different thing because Arrow is kind of like the father of all of this. Like there's a reason it's the Arrowverse. It's because like Arrow did both. Arrow started as the prestige show and then set the tone for the campier shows. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't even count Arrow because this spawned this whole thing.
Oh, fair points. All right, so the other CW show we got for this week is Naomi, season 1, episode 7, since it's running alongside Superman and Lois. I thought this was the best episode of Naomi we've gotten so far. We've got a lot of our questions answered, which a lot of it, though, I didn't realize how much I needed to know that was revolving around Zumbadu, who is the car dealership guy that we've referenced previously as usually car dealership guy, but he's becoming way more important now.
Yeah,
so it's time for him to get his name out there a little bit more.
His name. I after this episode, he's my favorite character. He's my favorite actor. Like he's just got it, man. He's got such charm in this episode, like both in the present and his flashbacks.
Yes.
That I mean, I hate to say this, but I kind of wish the show revolved around him because I don't think Naomi, the actress, has that kind of charm.
Gonna be called Zumbadu.
Right, let's do it, man.
Spinoff next season on CW, Zumbadu.
Well, they didn't give me Painkiller, damn it. Give me something.
That's true. All right, so the episode opens up pretty much in Star Labs. At the end of the last episode, Zumbadu saved Naomi, and they were there, didn't know where they were going, but apparently they stayed in Star Labs this entire episode. The episode follows along where in the beginning they form a link. Zumbadu forms a link with her where he can share his memories, where she's asking questions about stuff, but she can actually, like, when he's sharing the memories, she can like smell things, literally see things, feel like wind and stuff. Like that was pretty interesting that he's able to do that. And
doesn't like the leaves come to life, and like at some point it actually manifests in reality.
Yes, and we get to see a lot of what they're calling Earth 29, and I guess why it is called Earth 29. I think it's actually funny when she says that at one point, and he's like, "Well, we just call it Earth," which
I thought
the numbers don't know that they are Earth 29. Everyone thinks they are Earth anyway.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, that was cool. But things we find out though about Earth 29 is that it has 2 moons,
and most planets do. The Earth is odd in the fact that it only has 1, according to Zumbadu.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. We've seen 2 moons in Star Wars, I guess. So who knows? No, there's no connection. And then the planets.
But wait until Zumbadu shows up in the Book of Boba Fett season 2.
And then all hell breaks loose.
Like then we have to have a crossover with Shooting the Sith.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna split myself in 2, and then we'll have a 4-man panel. The plants though on Earth 2 are red instead of green and he explains it's like I guess he just says, "Hey, listen, that's the way that the plants take in the sun differently here." So that was pretty cool.
I dug that. You know what? Because does it make sense scientifically? I don't know, but it sounds convincing. Like
sounds good. Whatever. I'm good with it. This is science fiction, so whatever. Yeah, hand wave science fiction, no problem. But there was apparently a bunch of people got their powers on their planet through a purple meteor shower, and there were 29 of them.
Did it kind of remind you of the show Heroes?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Good okay. So it wasn't just me. Thank you.
No, it definitely brought back some Heroes flashbacks, which Heroes season 1, outstanding.
Phenomenal.
After that, not so much.
But it ended after season 1, Ed, right? It never came back.
In a version of the multiverse where the writer's strike never happened, absolutely.
Actually, in the version of the multiverse where the writer's strike never happened, we might have had a good 2 seasons of that show.
This is true. Because
But
I
anyway.
refer to things as the heroes effect. Whenever a show that has superpowers in it gives everyone superpowers, and then that's I usually call it the heroes effect.
Look,
that happened to True Blood also.
When Hero's friend, who was always the non-powered sidekick, got superpowers, that's when I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Because it was stupid before that.
Yes. And it got way worse.
It got so stupid.
So so that's pretty much what happened. And there were 29 people that became superpowered. Those people started helping people. They didn't, and I like how Naomi mentions superhero to him, and he's like,
I love that.
They're living comic books. We didn't suit up or wear costumes and shit, dude. We were just helping people.
Yeah, I love that. Because again, and you just see them like helping people, like it's no big deal. Like, this is what we do. And I thought that was a cool take, like a cool, realistic take on what would happen if people did get superpowers and wanted to help people. Like, the only people who would tight up and mask up or people like you and I who love comic books. Like,
exactly.
Real
people wouldn't do that.
No, unless you're a comic book fan and you're inspired by the art. No, you're not going to do that, but you still might help people. So I thought that was super cool. Like, that's kind of realistic.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it did remind me of Heroes in a way where that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then a woman we met a few weeks ago, Akira, who Naomi had met up with previously, she meets Zimbardo in a bar, says, hey, listen, I have powers too. Maybe it's fate, and it wasn't just a coincidence that this all happened. But then suddenly Zimbardo kind of jumps to, hey, listen, some person named Brutus, or a person or a thing named Brutus started had us hunted. And they hunt down the 29.
And I just want to say that, like, this is kind of part of why I have an apprehension about this show is it's kind of heavy-handed. Like, so Brutus, the person or thing that betrayed us and made you think that I betrayed you, Brutus, who was named after the famous betrayer of Julius Caesar, which everyone fucking knows. Like, it's just so, like, this show has moments of really, really cool stuff and interesting stuff, and then it gets so heavy-handed and tonally shifts where I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Which I'll bring that up. I'll bring that up later as we go along. But that's what the Brutus thing. Like, I was digging all that Zimbardo stuff up until they hit me over the head with the Brutus hammer.
And then you were like, what the hell's going on? I also think that so Akira also goes on to think that Zimbardo turned on everybody and gave the disc to Brutus that I guess had the identity of the 29, and that's why he left the planet, and that's why we find out where we're at now. So that's kind of Zimbardo's backstory. One thing I thought was very interesting, though, regarding Naomi, is at one point she has like thermal vision and is seeing people like the Predator.
Yes, yeah, and that's another thing I have is like, is Naomi a god? And I'm not being jocular here, like, because she is so goddamn powerful, and so much of these episodes are people pointing out how powerful and special she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, again, that's so heavy-handed. Like, I don't need Zimbardo to say, wow, you are so powerful. I've never seen power like this. It's like, just react to it. Just show other people's powers. Like, and the fact that, like, I don't know, Naomi just seems so perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said maybe like a Mary Sue type character.
Yeah,
like,
and I hate to use that. I don't really like that term, but it's just like she's a straight A student and has godlike powers and has the greatest relationship with her parents ever, and is like PhD smart. Like, someone brings up something about quantum mechanics in this episode, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. It's like, what?
I will say there's one thing to knock her about, though, besides her that was her boyfriend's like for mint chocolate chip. I was on her side with the toothpaste. Her parents making this pineapple pizza thing.
Yeah.
Stop.
Weird.
That's the knock. That's the knock
Weird.
against her.
But also, too, like, talk about, like, inconsistent characters. So, like, would anyone who was not just recently lobotomized have believed Naomi's friend in the lies she gives the parents about, I've come to see Naomi. I thought Naomi was with you at the game. Oh yeah, see, what happened was we were at the game. Yeah, that's the ticket. And then we weren't at the game. Like, it's like, I'm exaggerating it, but it might as well have been.
That's my WTF moment of this episode.
It's like, and their reaction is just, well, the pizza's burning. It's like, what?
Oh boy, so whatever. That's great. That was great.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. So then we find out that apparently Zimbardo says that she is super special because she's the only child to be born of 2 of the 29.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then he said that he told the parents that if anything happened to them, that he would protect her. That's why he's looking over her, saw her with the bright parents and everything. Yeah, I think there might be more to that story than he's let on so far.
You think we're going to find out Zimbardo's her dad?
I was waiting for that this whole episode.
I was too, yeah.
So I don't know. That still might be the case because remember, we're seeing this through Zimbardo. He's the narrator of this episode, pretty much. So we don't know. It could be something else. And then Dee and Annabelle are running off. The rest of the Scooby Gang took this episode off. Dee and Annabelle are tracking down.
Thankfully,
Naomi. I couldn't deal with them.
I hope when they retool this, because they're going to have to retool this. I think they can. I think there's a lot about the show that could work, but I think they're going to have to retool it for the second season. And when they do, I hope they pare down that Scooby Gang and totally change how they're written, because I think they are insufferable for the most part.
I don't doubt that at all. They have to do something like that. But Dee and Annabelle do have a couple of cool moments where they meet up and she's trying to push on that they're friends now and stuff like that. And they exchange numbers and stuff. And he's like, listen, chill out. You know, we're going to go ahead and I'll be there when you need me and stuff like that. But Annabelle actually tells Dee that they're like a pairing now. Like Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. I thought that was actually pretty funny.
I thought that was cute, yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, Dr. Bell is trying to build a bridge to the multiverse, which we don't really get a resolution to because there's like a explosion there and the scene leaves at Star Labs. But that's what she's doing. She's sucking people's energy to try to connect to the entire multiverse. That's why she has Zimbardo at one point. That's what she wants to do to Naomi as well. So that's where we leave off at the end of this one.
And I think it's at this point we should all bow our heads and say grace to our Lord and Savior, Green Arrow, who gave his life to save the multiverses. Because without him, none of this would exist. There would just be one universe.
Exactly. But who the hell knows? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
They shrunk it down and now it's like expanding again.
I just remember watching that. That was the last year's Crisis on Infinite Earths. I remember watching that going like, wait, so is he Jesus in this? Like, did he die to save our sins? Like, in the multiverse? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know. They became the Spectre. I'm like, I wasn't really that big a fan of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
No, I wasn't.
It's so much potential. It had a lot of cool moments, but overall I thought it was kind of shitty. But
I did like what's his face's Pariah, Dr. Wells' Pariah.
Yes,
I thought that was Dr. Wells almost always my favorite part of anything CW related.
No, he's really good. I'm sure we'll see him back when Flash returns. Because we'll be talking about Flash next week.
Yeah,
as our only CW show next week.
Yeah,
because these two are on hiatus.
Yeah, so. No, exactly. All right.
So we are at the point we are going to bring in a guest as we get to our live action Batman rankings. So last week the end of the episode, we gave our rankings of the movies themselves. So if you want the movie aspect, you got to go watch last week's episode because that's where that was at. But we wanted to rank other stuff, like a couple of interesting things, and then we'll get to our movies of the week. But joining us again, as a second week in a row. Izzy Loreno, what's up, dude?
no
I
Israel.
almost called you by your full name. I shouldn't.
Actually, that's not my name. My name's not Israel.
What's your full name?
My full name is Ismail. But
okay, all right. So
no worries about it. It's better than what most people try to call me. A lot of people try to call me Ishmael, and the reality of it is there's no H in the name, so it's like it actually irritates me. So I ended up calling myself Izzy for a while. Like it was in high school. Some girls like, we'll just call you Izzy, and that's it. So no worries. I've been called worse.
You know what?
Hey, listen, all good, man.
Izzy, I blame Moby Dick, and if you want after this show, I will go on a life-ending vengeance quest with you to get that fucking whale for getting you called Ishmael this whole time.
I have no problem with it, but there was a time in my life when I used to I do public speaking, obviously, since I do this too. So right. And in part of my public speaking, where one of my introductions have always been, my name is Ismael, do not call me Ishmael.
Nice.
And
I like that.
I kind of stopped doing it because it's a generational thing, really, because not a lot of people read Moby Dick these days. I'm one of them. So
it's on my list. I have to read it before I die, but I've never read it.
It's not on my list because I'll never get to it.
Yeah.
Being realistic, that's always
fair.
But that's okay, man.
No, sorry about
reading some good reading anyway. But yeah, let's talk Batman stuff.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so we got Izzy with us from Izzyverse, as also his own YouTube channel, which he's kicked off. What was it, about 2 months ago?
No, it's been about a month now. It's been a little over a month. I think I just hit 40 videos or something like that. So I've been cranking them out, man.
Nice.
Yeah, just had one today. So
okay, yeah, not so long ago, we celebrated our 50th episode. Obviously, we're at 56 now.
Yeah.
I would say our videos tend to go on. Our episodes go on for a little bit.
I have a whole mess of stuff. So
which is cool. Which is cool, though.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's better to everyone has their approach to this whole thing, and whatever works for you, man. Like, and yours is a cool way to do it too, as well. And so
I got to give a shout out to Rob, who introduced us. Really,
Rob Rivera,
Rob Rivera. We go back. We go way back a few years now. I'm thinking about it, man. When I've known Rob for such a long time, man. We went to church together and stuff like that. So that's how I know him, and we still keep tabs with each other. We don't get to see each other as often as we probably should, but he was, when he heard about the channel, he was like, "Yeah, you gotta talk to this guy," and I was like, "Okay, let's talk." So
ironically, he was talking about wrestling.
And and as you know, my channel has some wrestling stuff into it, So yeah, but then when we got to the comic stuff, it's like, I think my comics my channel's primarily comic based more than anything. So because I'm an artist as well, so that's kind of the idea, taking the art form and talking about it with other creators and things like that. So cheap plug, tomorrow I'm talking to Jim Valentino, creator of Shadowhawk and the first Guardians of the Galaxies. It's a hard one to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy without mentioning Jim Valentino in comics, but the reality of it is his version of Guardians of the Galaxy is not the one you see on the movies. It's the OG. It's the OG. But the biggest part of that he contributed was being the co-creator, co-founder of Image Comics. So I can't wait to have that conversation tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, so I got a lot of other guys on the waiting room. I don't always announce them because I don't want to just have you know what I mean, keep your fingers crossed kind of moment where you say someomes coming and then you like, oh, maybe not.
Yep. It does happen.
Yeah, and I know it does, and it almost did too. So, enough about me.
Yeah, so we wanted to knock down a couple rankings. We'll be ranking live action Batman. Be ranking our villains from the Batman movies, Batmobiles, Commissioner Gordon's shorter list. So we'll jump into that now, and Batman themes, because that's always a big thing.
And Alfred's,
of course. Of course, these are keys here.
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm just going like, I made these lists. Damn it, I'm not making them go to waste. I'm sharing them all.
All right, so
I think
Jason,
I put the list somewhere. So let me see where I put mine.
All right, Jason, then why don't you kick us off with your list of your rankings of the live action Batman that we've gotten so far.
All right. So here we go. I don't think there's any surprise to anyone who's heard me talk about these movies that Christian Bale is my favorite Batman. That's it. I like Pattinson. It's going to take a lot for him to unseat Bale. Then my second is Keaton. And I'm going to be honest, that is complete nostalgia for me. I just like, I cannot divorce myself from Batman 89 specifically from the nostalgia glasses. I think when we reviewed that movie, I told you I was in a pissy mood and I watched it. And by the end of the movie, and this almost never happens, like where a movie just knocks me out of it. Like, yeah, Prince, Joker, I love this movie. So it's Keaton's 2. Batfleck is 3 because Batfleck really grew on me, and I'm always going to be sad that we're not going to get a Batfleck movie. Pattinson is 4, though. To be honest, he can overtake Batfleck. I don't think he's going to overtake Keaton or Bale, but he can definitely overtake Batfleck in my rankings. Then there's West, because he's the OG, he's the classic. And then there's Kilmer and Clooney, or Clooney and Kilmer. Who gives a shit, right? They both sucked.
do you think they're equally sucky, or do you feel like...
I don't think they equally suck.
I put Kilmer first because Kilmer at least attempts to have character, whereas George Clooney is just being George Clooney shaking his head. So, yes, Kilmer is better than Clooney for sure.
All right. No, I can respect that. That's pretty cool. You didn't go, oh, whatever. Listen, everyone will say this as with all rankings. Your rankings are your rankings. There's no right or wrong answers here. We can have a laugh about it if somebody was like, hey, listen, George Clooney's my favorite Batman. I mean, you're going to get a reaction.
I mean, look, I think you're wrong. I would think you were wrong, but that doesn't mean you're wrong.
So one of the videos I posted I over the weekend, I told you guys this. I did my rankings from the best Batman movies according to what my choices are, right? And there are some very interesting choices to say the least. But I put it right in there, and I will tell them every time, this is our opinion of what we think is the best, and I always put a little joke in there. And yes, there is someone out there that does believe Batman and Robin is the greatest Batman movie of all time.
For sure.
There's got to be someone.
Somebody believes it somewhere.
I'm glad someone enjoys that movie. I wish I could.
I will be honest. It's actually growing on me, but because of the dumbness of it. You know what I mean? When the movie's so bad, it's good.
Of course.
That's the type of movie.
Me and Jason are all about that shit.
That's the type of movie that is.
That
no, I feel that way about Catwoman, and we'll pass that later at another round. But yeah, it's one of those movies. Let me tell you a quick story. I used to work at Banana Republic years ago, and at that particular time is when the Batman movies came out, Forever, and then Robin came out. And as I'm working there, very passionate. When Batman and Robin came out, I was like, oh my God, that was, sacrilegious what they did. And it's ridiculous. And if I ever get my hands on Joe Schumacher, punky teen, not teenager, but 20-something year old. And it just so happens that, within a couple of days later, who happens to walk into the shop? None other than Mr. Joel Schumacher. And if you ever seen the guy, he's passed. He passed away a few years ago now. But if you ever seen him, he has like this pompous way of acting. So he has this like greater than thou walk. I don't know if it does it on purpose or anything like that, but it just feels that way. It just feels like a kind of guy you want to punch in the face type of thing. And there you say, I want it to so bad just to come up to him, but they, my coworkers. Luckily for me, my coworkers knew how I felt about that, and they also knew Joe Schumacher, and they were like, "Izzy, let's just keep you in the stock room right now." It's like one of the celebrities I got a chance to see that I didn't want to see, but oh well.
I just picture you going up to Joel Schumacher and just going, "This is for Batman."
You know what? I'm sure he might have already gotten that by now at one time or another. I'm sure.
He might have gotten it so often that he would have dodged, deflected, and it turned it around on you, because at that point he had to become the Batman to stop Batman fans from beating the shit out of him.
Well, he single-handedly destroyed. He destroyed what could have been good comic books that would have happened in the late 90s. He
I agree.
single-handedly destroyed the industry for at least a
Well,
good 10 years.
I wouldn't. I think the studio has a lot to do with it too.
Oh
because
yeah, the studio had a lot to do, but
Yeah.
he got the brunt on it.
I mean,
he really did
it's-
get the brunt.
The thing is he didn't get comic book movies, and from what he continuously said, like, oh, it's just a comic book movie, who cares, who wants seriousness, like he just didn't get the movie he was trying to make, and that's why I blame the studio for hiring.
Oh yeah,
him.
you always blame the studio first, but the
Yeah.
director always gets the brunt at the end of the day. It's it becomes their movie regardless of whether it really is or not.
Yeah, for most part, because Warner Brothers suits eventually became Batman's greatest enemy later on
Yes.
when they started interfering in the DCU very early on and started getting really crazy. But that wasn't happening at that time, at least not to that effect.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna reel off my list of Batman, and then Izzy, we'll go to you.
Sure. No problem.
I got Bale still at number 1. Bale's that's still my guy. Number 2, I am going with Robert Pattinson as my number 2, and I'm going to be honest.
Surprised.
I was very close to having him as number 1, just because, like, in the Batman. The only reason I didn't is because I don't want to fall into complete recency bias with it, and he's had one film.
Mhm.
Now, in that one film, though, his Batman really, really blew me away. Like,
I agree.
Really blew me away. So I had to go with him. Number 3, I am going to go with Batfleck. I got Ben Affleck as my number 3, which we've discussed many times on this show. A lot of love for Ben Affleck's Batman. Was by far the standout of BVS, without question.
For sure. It's the good part.
Yeah, and I also like Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman in it, but again, she's not in it a lot. So
and again, like I like shoehorns, but when they're just when
yes,
they're just thrown in a cake, it doesn't make any sense.
100% agreed. And in Zack Snyder's Justice League, he was redeemed again because after Justice League, which we panned to no end when we covered that movie, he was horrendous in that. And I don't blame Ben Affleck. His Batman was given crap. These weird one-liners turned into like this fanboy of Superman for no reason. It was so un-Batman-like. But in Zack Snyder's Justice League, the badass Batman that we got in BVS was back. And dude, the scene in BVS, which still might be the best my favorite Batman scene single of all time, the warehouse scene, is phenomenal. It is.
Yeah, that warehouse
incredible.
scene is great.
Yeah, that's an awesome scene.
I just wish it was in a better movie. Overall,
Yeah.
If I could
wish
take
it
that
was
scene and put it somewhere else.
Put it in a Batfleck movie that was good.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You could have thrown it in fucking Zack Snyder's Justice League for no reason. And I'd have been like, fair enough.
I mean, why not? The movie was 4 hours, 5 hours as it was.
Why not?
So I have a question for you. Did you sit through the 4 hours? Because I actually did.
What do you mean? Oh, 4 hours straight?
Justice League.
Yeah, I did.
When I saw it I saw it twice before we did the show. So
yeah,
the first time I did take a 15-minute piss break and went and got lunch. No, I scheduled my own intermissions. I was watching it with Rick, who was on last week, and I was watching it with my wife. And we were in Georgia watching it when it came out. And we were literally, it was around lunchtime, we were hungry. So we were like, all right, let's pause it and do your thing. And let's resume in 15 minutes. So we literally went, made some sandwiches, did a whole thing. So we had a halftime of it. So, but the second time I watched it straight through, actually.
I had friends over the night that I did it, and we ate dinner before, so we were fortified. And then we went straight through. Like, I think we started at like 7. And I mean, it's like a 5-hour film, right? Like, no joke.
It's like 4. It's like 4 and 2
4
minutes.
and change, or is it 4?
Yeah, it's 4 and 2. It's 4 and 2.
Okay, so it's like 4. So like we started at like 7. We ended at like midnight, and but I watched it full way through.
Yeah, my intention originally, believe it or not, was to watch it as like a TV series, where hour to hour, because it's cut like a TV series, right? When you watch it, it's cut.
And I think that's how they were going to release it.
Yeah, the original plan was to release it, but I ended up watching it full way. It just I am not a. I'm gonna be the first to tell you I am not a Snyderverse guy. I don't like the Snyderverse, and I could give you my reasons later, but I will say it was first of all, it's definitely better than the cut we got.
For sure.
Definitely better.
The Justice League.
Yeah, the Justice League. There were points that were missed, but at the same time, it's like it's still 4 hours, man. You gave me 2 movies, so Snyder, I'll give you credit for this one. Do I want to see you do more? Not really, but I'm good. I got what I need.
That's fair.
That's pretty much what I said too on our review.
Yeah.
So I got so back to my rings though. We got Bale, Pattinson, Batfleck at number 3. Then I got Keaton coming in at number 4. Who, I mean, he's kind of fluttered around the same spot for me, but Pattinson. I mean, recently I had him a little bit higher. I never had him higher than Batfleck just because I think Batfleck's Batman really captures what my idea of Batman is straight out of the comics. Again, he's going to be the guy that I'm sure he'll be strong in the Flash movie when we get to see him one more time. But I just feel like he's going to be the guy that's like, damn it, there was so much more potential, but we just didn't quite get it. But his portrayal is what it is. Keaton, though, our rewatch now has reinvigorated my love for Keaton's Batman. And for those who are kind of like, oh, that's my Batman, that's great. But they also like try to talk about comic accurate stuff. I mean, he's pretty small for a Batman. I just want to throw that out there. Fine, my nostalgia's there for Jason. We're the same age. We saw it. We loved it. I still don't take any of that back. I don't love Batman Returns, but it was better than I remember it being. But yeah, Keaton's there. Then I got West, who was when I also grew up at a time where that was on TV all the time. I used to watch it on Channel 11 a bunch, and it has its time. It's for its own thing. Then I go Kilmer and Clooney because I can't stand either one of their performances as Batman, but at least Kilmer is not in the Night at the Roxbury.
Right, exactly.
Generations all the time. and like I said on our review of that, Clooney
I'm trying to picture Batman doing this now.
Oh, watch Batman and Robin. You'll see
Joker.
the whole thing. It's like, hey, but yeah, he just was kind of like, hey, I'm George Clooney. I'm wearing a Batman costume to a Halloween party. What's up?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, that's all it is. He wasn't even there was no attempt at actual acting in it. So, yeah, and remember, Kilmer and Clooney are supposed to be Keaton's Batman continued. That is supposed to be a continuation. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you, movie. That's what you get for that.
Fuck you.
We're not even talking about the movie again. But you brought it back. So those are my rankings for live action Batman. Izzy, what do you got for us? What is your ranking of the Batman?
Okay, so
that is Jason's fuck you movie, by the way. Whenever that's his, I want us to have Granny's Peach t-shirts, and I want fuck you movie, and like with the quote from Jason on it as one of them for sure.
Okay.
That was Spider-Man 2, right?
Amazing Spider-Man 2 brought that out in you.
Oh, Amazing
That's
Spider-Man
the most
2.
angry
Now,
I've ever seen you.
I'm sure you guys cover some Spider-Man movies, and I wish I would have been there for those.
Counted down to no way.
Because I am a spy. Spider-Man was my number one comic book character of all time that I love. But going back to Batman, Keaton, to me, it's gonna be Keaton.
Okay.
And again,
Nice.
I always go back to Keaton because he embodies what I want Batman and Bruce Wayne to be.
Okay.
More so Batman, but the weirdness around Wayne, because Bruce Wayne should be weird. I think Patterson is gonna get there, but he can't get the credit now. It's too early. That's how I feel. We're a week into the movie now, right? And you can't. It's hard for me to rank somebody with only a week's time of digesting it, especially with one showing, right? I'm gonna have to see it multiple times to make that decision, and thankfully for HBO Max, I'm gonna get that. So I'm looking forward to seeing the movie again, so I could definitely see what I didn't see the first time around. So Keaton's always going to be the number one guy, and because we're bringing him back, that's what he's been number one to so many people's lives that it was enough for people to say we want him back. And I would have loved to see Keaton in a Dark Knight Returns movie. That was what I wanted. not a Batman Beyond version as much as I told you I like the Batman Beyond movies.
That's the big thing. Everyone seems to
Everybody
want. A lot of
seems-
fans seems to want
Yeah,
that.
I've
Everybody
actually
thinks
always
that-
wanted the Batman Beyond thing.
the Batman Beyond thing but I think Keaton as Dark Knight Returns,
I could see that too.
it would be that if you were to do that as a movie, oh my goodness, Keaton's perfect because he looks the part now. You know how Frank Miller always drew Batman really big and bulky for that comic book. I look at Keaton that way. I don't look at Affleck that way, even though they try to make him look that way. But I see Keaton that way.
Okay.
Number 2,
I was actually going to say I thought he was a little too small for that, but
yeah, but I could see Keaton that way because of his, he has the wrinkly face part of it. That's what I'm thinking. Number 2 has got to be Bale, because I think no one has done more with the character than Bale, with the 3 movies, and he's actually been in, I will say, the best ones. You got Batman Begins and Dark Knight were by far 2 of the best Batman movies we've ever gotten. I think Dark Knight Rises, what happened there was the fact that they just didn't expect to, what happened to Heath Ledger was to happen. So I think if we would have still had Heath Ledger, that movie would have been a lot different than what we got, because he was in the plans to be in the movie in some way. So
yeah, we talked about that when we covered Dark Knight Rises too.
He was definitely in the plans to be in the movie in some weird way, but in a weird way, not that I'm happy that he passed away, but in a weird way, I'm happy that they didn't go that route simply because Joker takes up space. You can't have Joker in a movie and he can't take up space. Even, spoiler alert, even in the Batman, it's like there he is taking up the space, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. He just, his presence takes up space.
Yeah, because he is number 1, right? He's considered to be, by many people's standards, the greatest villain, period. You know what I mean? So, so there's that. So Bale was able to play second fiddle to all these other characters, but in a really good way as far as Batman goes. Number 3, Adam West, man. There's nothing beats. I can't. I love Adam.
Wow.
Love Adam. I love Adam. I love Adam West. I love that character. I love the fact that he knew what he was doing, and he took it serious. But a lot of people don't know how serious he took it. And best Bruce Wayne. Best Bruce Wayne, because he was a playboy. He acted like a playboy.
I agree with that. He does. He's got like the 60s.
He got the little ascot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, for that alone, I'll say that. He's definitely a better Wayne than he was Batman. I'll say that much.
I agree with that.
Well, actually, Izzy, let me ask you a question, because we talked about it on this show when we covered Batman the movie 1966. Do you picture, since I know you really have an affinity for Adam West Batman, can you picture that Batman though, seeing his parents murdered in Crime Alley?
I can, but I don't think they never touched the story. But I could see it. You can't see it.
We couldn't see it. I could see
it. You know why I could see it? But the thing is, it wasn't until the animated series is when I saw it. So I wouldn't have been able to see it before the animated series. And the reason why I'm saying that is, if you ever go back to the animated series, you got to watch the Grey Ghost episode.
Oh, it's a great episode.
The Grey Ghost episode is played by Adam West. That's Adam West playing the Grey Ghost. Okay. So if you watch that, then you will see it. Right? Okay. The only thing is that he wasn't given that opportunity to get that shot, but I think he'd be able to do it. But it was a different type of show, so I could see it because of that. Before that, I wouldn't have been able to.
No, we joked about it when we started, because we're just like, he's so happy-go-lucky and gosh and darn it and all that. And we're just like, did you see his parents murdered in Crime Alley? Is this guy trying to put up Bruce Wayne? Well, that's one thing I'll say, because what made me think too is that since you have him as your favorite Bruce Wayne, the other Batman though on this list, their Bruce Wayne is a facade and a mask, and their real Bruce Wayne is tortured and evil, and like the real person is everyone else played him differently. Where
Yeah, exactly.
Batman's the actual real person, where Bruce Wayne is like the pretend guy. And then, like you said last week, you made a great point when we talked about the Batman, about there being 3 different characters. You know, where you have Batman, then you have Bruce Wayne, like behind closed doors, and then you have Playboy Bruce Wayne, who's like the mask just to throw everyone off the scent that he's Batman. So, yeah, no, I was just curious, but no, I'm sorry, but go ahead.
No, that's perfectly fine. You know, and there's some other things. If you ever watch the animated Cape Crusaders cartoons, there Adam West is playing. That's one of his last performances before he passed away.
We covered those.
We covered those.
You could see a little bit of that. They were getting there. They would have probably gotten there. So yeah, there's a lot of love for Wes. I will always love Wes. Then Affleck. I was not a big fan of Affleck, only because I was not a fan of Batman BVS in particular. I don't like that movie.
Not even the Ultimate Edition?
Not even the Ultimate Edition.
Okay.
I don't like it. Because my Batman don't kill. that's bottom line to me.
Your number one does.
Keaton killed.
Keaton kills.
Keaton murdered quite a few people in Batman and Batman Returns.
Allegedly killed.
You can really see the death there.
You know, he just blows up Axis chemicals. He didn't know people were in there.
I'm just saying, he
murdered falls.
He tripped and fell, so you know it's kind of not my thing, you know. But
no, but I get what I get the idea. But in Keaton's case, it's just he has this awkwardness of that embodies Batman that I think Affleck doesn't have. And right in the beginning of the movie, my first introduction to Ben Affleck's Batman was that he was a killer, that he was branding people. I still don't get the branding part of things, but I understand, you know, with the
he wasn't doing it though.
With the branding, with the symbol.
Well, the thing was they in the Ultimate Edition they do reveal other parts that was part of Lex Luthor setting him up.
You know, I'm gonna have to see that movie again to remember that, because I didn't remember that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the difference between like the Ultimate Edition and the theatrical cut.
And I actually own the Ultimate Edition, so it's been a while.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Ultimate Edition adds on literally a half an hour of story, which Warner Brothers, they pretty much were like, let's take out the story and just give you a bunch of gibberish and throw it out there. Because when I saw it in the theater, I also hated the movie. I was like, this is garbage. And then it adds more context to things. Because it turns out that was a Luthor thing. Yeah.
I will say there are still stuff that I don't like in particular.
Yeah, that's fine.
But, you know, again, it's with Affleck in particular, he was never given a starring opportunity, so it's hard to kind of rank him as in front of the other guys for me, because I didn't get this is his movie. Like in Batman Superman, he was sharing the screen. In the other movies, he was sharing the screen. Even in Suicide Squad, right? He's in Suicide Squad, he's sharing the screen with all these other characters, right? So Affleck goes there, and then the Left Behinds, of course. Kilmer will go in front of Clooney, because I think Kilmer, he looks the part in a way. at least he looked the part. You know what I mean? And that's probably about it. And in Clooney's case, Clooney was like everybody else in that movie. He knew that this was a paycheck. And that's all it was to him at that point. I think everybody in that movie knew it was a paycheck. I think the person that was having the most amount of fun in that movie was probably either Arnold Schwarzenegger or Uma Thurman. They looked like they were having the most amount of fun in that movie. Everybody else looked like they hated being there.
Schwarzenegger looked like he was having a time of his life. I'm unabashedly a huge Schwarzenegger fan. So I thought going into it when we rewatched it, I was going to be like, oh yeah, this will be my favorite part and it'll be passable. No, it's completely messy. But it does look like he's having fun.
Yeah, at least you could tell some people were having fun. And I honestly believe Uma was having a blast.
Mm-hmm.
She was having a blast.
Agreed.
She was having the most amount of fun. You know who was having the worst amount of fun? Bane.
Oh yeah, whoever that
non-character,
the wrestler he's a wrestler. I forgot who he was though, but he was a wrestler. That Bane was awful.
That's pretty.
The less we say about that movie, the better.
Agreed. Unfortunately, we'll touch on it a little bit, but let's get into Batmobiles. Let's rank them quick. Let's run it down. Jay, I'm gonna briefly do E-Branch from Double O Deep Dive. I will start off Batmobiles and we'll swing back around the clock. I am going to go with the Batman as having my dude. It has its own introduction.
Wow, okay.
We talked about this last week. I really thought about this. The car has its own introduction and it's his own character in the movie. I can't say that about any other thing on this list. That's why I'm going with it. It was pretty crazy that it had that. It was intimidating. It was like it scared people. It was just given so much more, which is why I had to go with it here. Obviously, gadgets are my thing too, so that's where it obviously falls on that. Besides having a turbine engine, it didn't really have all the bells and whistles, which I have a feeling it will in
eventually
movies.
Sure,
eventually. So, to be fair with it, the second one I'm going to go with is the Tumbler from the Dark Knight trilogy. I've always loved the Tumbler. I said if I ever hit the lotto for a crazy amount of money, I would definitely buy a Tumbler that is fully functional.
I said the same thing about my favorite, by the way.
Yes, yes. So it'd be both driving around in Batmobiles and stuff. It'd be pretty wild. A close second, though, right? It's more like 2A is Batman 89 and Batman Returns Batmobile. That thing looks beautiful. It's slick. I love the shields, the machine guns on the side, drops bombs out of it. I mean, as far as bells and whistles, that's the best. That
does have the most bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's awesome. It really is awesome. Then I'm going to go with the one from BVS and Justice League, Ben Affleck's Batmobile. Even though I know there was slight tweaks in the two, that thing's crazy. It's another tank that has machine guns and all this other crap on it and stuff. So we just don't see a lot of it.
I got to see that one. I actually got to
really?
see it. Yeah. So they were doing a show when Comic-Con was in New York. And it was right when Justice League came out. If you went to Times Square, they had the car there. I don't know if it was a replica of it, but they, who cares at this point, right? You saw the car. They have the car. And it's gorgeous. That car was gorgeous. Nice. It's a shame that car didn't get screen time the way it should have.
Yeah,
that's
it gets some in BVS. It gets
a little, but it's Aquaman's on top of it. Somehow it loses its flair.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean.
It doesn't get enough. So I had to rank it there. Then I'll go with Batman 66 Batmobile, which it looks cool and stuff like that. Didn't really bells and whistles, not really too much. Again, they all have turbine engines, so it's not even mentioning that's a given. And then the Forever and Batman and Robin one both equally suck. I will say that because they're both light up parties that are like, hey, I'm the Dark Knight, but I have lights everywhere. Come see my Batmobile. Like, they're both
didn't that one have hydraulics? I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was both of them suck. I don't know what the hell you're thinking with the designs of these things. And I know one of them drives up the wall at one point.
Yeah,
but bonkers. Forever, yeah.
Which I was fine with. At that point, I was like, it's stupid.
Yeah, the movie was idiotic.
No matter what they did, they've already shit on that.
Yeah, and it splits, doesn't it? It splits into like this bullet type of vehicle or something like that.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so
yeah, they both suck. So whatever. I got Forever and Robin at the end.
It was a live action toy.
Yeah, again, I'm sure it sold plenty of toys to kids at that time.
That's exactly what it was for.
Jason, what do you got? What's your Batmobile rankings?
All right, number 1 is 66, baby. I love 66. If I hit the lotto tomorrow, I'm buying one of the 3 genuine 66s because there were 3 of them that they used, and I know this because I went to and I shared this on the page. A couple of years ago, my school sent me to like a comic books in the classroom PD in a museum in the city, and one of the exhibits that they had as a temporary exhibit was one of the 366 Batmobiles. So I got to have a picture with it. I love that one. Then there's the 89 Returns one. I think that's such an iconic looking Batmobile. I love it. Then I'm going to say the Batman. I really like the bare bones of this Batmobile and how realistic it kind of looks. Like it's got the turbine engine, but it kind of looks like a regular car with a turbine engine.
Yeah.
And I dug that. Yeah, right, exactly. And I really dug that. Then the Tumbler, which I'm going to be honest, I've never been a big fan of. It's a great tank. It never really struck me as a Batmobile. And then BVS, the BVS one, but to be honest, I'd have to watch BVS again, which I'm not going to do. But I'd have to watch that Batmobile and play. That might actually be better than the Tumbler, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then Batman and Robin, because it sucks slightly less than Forever, but just slightly. That's my ranking.
Okay.
Slightly.
Yeah, they suck pretty hard.
They're terrible.
Izzy, what do you got for Batmobiles?
You see, I was debating between 66 and the original the 89 one. But I think the 89 one just probably has a slight edge over the 66. Just the overall aesthetic of the vehicle looks like a giant bat to me, right? Especially in that front with the kind of like that front grille is a little different than most cars. So I'm gonna rank that one in front of 66. 66 is another one of those vehicles like that I got the privilege to get inside of.
Nice.
And I have some photos from a show. And yeah, one of the funnest things was to just hit those switches, like all those switches, and what the hell they do, and the fact that they're all labeled, what made it even better. It's like that's what this does, that's what that does, right? You gotta that. There's so much love for 66, you don't even know. So I definitely will pick that one. So that's a very, very close second, 66. Number 3. Before the Batman would have been the Tumbler, but I'm with you guys. The Batman, that Batmobile, like you said, has his own introduction.
It's crazy.
But the other thing I could say about that Batmobile, besides what we've all said either on this show and then on Friday, that's the one that I think looks most like the comic book version of the Batmobile. And I'm not talking about the comic book version with the head in the front. Right?
There's like 1,000 in the
yeah,
comic book.
But the one that everybody thinks about when they, besides the 66 version, if you ever see an artist's rendition in the comics, it looks a lot like the one that we've seen in the movie today. So that Batmobile does have that Batmobile aesthetic to it, and yeah, it doesn't have the bells and whistles yet, but I'm pretty sure it will have it sooner or later. So you have that one. Then we'll have Affleck's Batmobile because it is a great looking car. Actually, no, it was the Tumbler. I'm sorry, the Tumbler. That was the car I said I wish I could have. If I had the money, I would buy the Tumbler just to do this and just go inside. You know what I mean? Just to do that stuff. So I would do that. Then I would say Affleck's, and again, like I said earlier, it just didn't get the love it needed. So you can't rank something that doesn't have love. So unfortunately, I just can't rank it. And I'll take Kilmer's versus Clooney because that skeleton feature of it and making it the light up thing made it just look like a really cool toy. So I would love to ride it. You know what I mean? I'll ride it. I don't mind riding. It's like, yeah, I'm on the Batmobile. And Clooney's hydraulics is like, no. Why would a Batmobile need hydraulics? You know what I mean?
In case he was going to be in a rap video.
Yeah.
It was. Coolio was in it.
Yes.
It's true. Coolio was in it.
Yes, he was. Oh, God, that was terrible.
There's so many little things that people forget about these movies and even these cameos that pop up here and there. It's crazy.
All right, so we have next one is going to be kind of tough. So I'm really curious to see where this goes. Batman themes. So every Batman needs a good theme. So we'll go for that. Izzy, you didn't get to start off yet. So why don't you start us off with your Batman themes, and then we'll go to Jason, and I'll wrap that one up. What do you got? What's your list of Batman
Crime noir
themes?
They will have to be crime noir. That's the theme I will go for. Crime noir, detective scene. So the Batman has the best theme as far as the style, aesthetics of it. Okay. As many people have said already, it's the one movie that feels more like the comic book than any other movie so far. Mm-hmm. I told you guys last week, it feels like watching the animated series. So crime noir will be the best one. Then I'll go campy because campy is the
Batman 66.
Yeah, it's the other side of the coin, right? So, so you get crime noir, dark, gritty. Then you get campy, and then then the rest are somewhere in between. They level up to those different points. Um, superhero action adventure, um, which is probably, it's hard to say which one falls under that one. Because I think probably Forever would probably be the best one to explain it, because you could say that towards the Batfleck movies that they're very superhero action, especially with Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
but his scenes didn't feel that way, if you know what I mean. Maybe that one scene with the parademon in particular in Justice League, but yeah, if you're gonna do Batman, you do crime noir. That's the best. That's the best way you could do it. A nice crime noir detective series. So
Okay.
that, and
So
then
the music from that is what you felt was.
yeah, you gotta love the Nirvana and the score that they had. I still, every time, now that I see that movie, that's all I'm gonna hear in my head is Something in the Way. So,
Okay.
but that rendition is awesome. So that's why I go with themes.
All right. Jason, what do you got as far as Batman themes go from each movie? Where how would you rank them?
You're mute right now.
There you go. Now you're back.
Now you're still mute.
No, now I'm just fucking with you. No,
I figured that part.
But all right, so I got the Batman '89 Returns as my favorite. Because again, that's nostalgia, man. I hear that anywhere, and I'm just like, Batman's here, and then I got the Nolan trilogy. I think the score, the Batman theme on those, I just think were really strong.
Molasses.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
the name of the track. Yeah,
I don't know any of their names. I'm just
okay. No, that's the only one that really has like a name per se.
Yeah, but I really like that one. But again, like I also really like those movies, so it's not a surprise. Then I would say the Batman. I really did enjoy the Batman theme. It did remind me a bit of the Imperial March every now and then, but I think that's just my brain like going, wait a minute, that sounds a bit familiar. But that's not a dig. That was just a weird thing. Then 66, which I'm actually going to say that although 66 is very low on my list, I think it is the most iconic Batman theme song.
Oh,
I literally had a 15, 16-year-old student walk up to me today and go, Batman, because he had just seen the Batman movie that, like, the Pattinson one.
Nice.
So, like, it's very, I'm saying, although it's not one of my favorites, it's super iconic. And then
it's etched in people's brain, right? Isn't it?
That's exactly it. That's a show from the 60s. So
yeah, that and Spider-Man,
well.
Right? Those two in particular.
Yep, for sure. And then Forever and Robin, and who cares, right?
But Forever has a fantastic soundtrack.
Yes, but I was just going for the Batman theme.
Yeah, the theme it's pretty much the same theme throughout. They kept the same theme.
Forever, no, they changed it here and there.
They changed a little bit.
Forever probably is the second best soundtrack of any Batman movie.
Yeah,
the first being the first one, which was a Prince album.
Oh yeah, Prince,
literally a Prince album.
Yeah.
All right,
which is impossible to get. Apparently, it's not on Spotify.
Oh, I have it on Tidal though. I downloaded it on Tidal.
Oh yeah. I've been wanting those songs, and they're not on Spotify. I'm like, damn it, I gotta.
Well, YouTube dinged us for playing two of the songs.
Oh really?
When we played it, so they
copyright claim.
Yep, never had it in all the episodes we've done, but we got it dinged twice for playing two songs on that. All right, so my themes are Jason, scarily familiar. So, I gotta go with Batman, the Batman '89 theme. From Tim Burton's movies, because I mean, dude, even the animated series went ahead and took a spin off it as well. So it's a slight change to it, but yeah, that's still the theme that I believe. I'll say 66. Yes, I get that's iconic throughout time, but like this, man, when you hear that shit, it's like, yeah, you're right. You might as well look out your window and look for the bat signal to be out there because shit's about to go down. So I'm gonna go with the Batman '89 theme for that. Then I'm going to go with Molasses from The Dark Knight. Molasses, whatever the hell to spell that. That thing just, again, especially rewatching it when that thing kicks in, and it's just like it really gets the blood pumping there. Very close second, though, and I feel like this seems to be a theme. I mean, third is the Batman. That from the new Batman movie, which is just titled, the song is called The Batman as well. it's great, man. It kicks in, starts off great, then it has that kind of like lull which they use in the movie, and then it gets serious again at the end. It is a great track, and it's even in the trailer, it's like intimidating, like this Batman is. So, and the other part is kind of used more for Bruce Wayne. One thing we didn't get a chance to touch on with our review of the Batman last week, though, while I'm mentioning the theme, the score of the film, with the way that they use the Batman's theme and Riddler's theme and Catwoman's theme, is they do have all their own themes. Mm-hmm. They do use it and kick in before sometimes you even see the character. Like there's scenes when the Riddler is there creepily in the background, his theme kicks in before that. And since I listened to the soundtrack before the movie a couple of times, first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, Riddler's there. Where the hell is he?" I thought it was clever. It was very clever to do that.
That's cool.
Surprisingly, I was not a fan of Riddler doing that kind of stuff, but then again,
yeah,
I don't know.
But again, the score, score wise, I thought that was pretty genius the way that they used it. Then I'll go Batman 66. I mean, I could easily bump that up for a while, but I wanted more of like intimidating Batman as my theme for Batman in a more Dark Knight style. So that's kind of went with it. If that started playing and I'm in the 60s, I don't know if I'm going to get intimidated. I'll probably continue my crime and, I'll get away with it.
No, if it was the 60s and that music started playing, I'd be like, screw the crime. I'm having an orgy. I mean,
I'll be honest with you. I misunderstood when you said theme. I actually did misunderstood what you meant. So,
I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah.
If you want to reel it off, go ahead.
No, but that's fine. I'm going to keep it nice and simple, though.
Okay. 80, but I got 89. But hold on. I got 3 more to go.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I got Batman Forever, which whatever the hell that is, it's there. The BVS one was okay because he does have a theme, but it's so forgettable.
Oh, does he? Because it's not on my list.
Jason, the thing is, it's so forgettable. It's barely used.
He does have a theme, and it continues in Justice League.
Yeah, and in Justice League, Danny Elfman tried to go back and use part of I'm sorry, it was Hans Zimmer. Yeah, and that he got hired to do that, and Junkie XL, and they were kind of going ahead and messing with the Elfman theme a little bit. But I don't know, it didn't work. That's not that Batman's theme.
It wasn't they were trying to do with Justice League was they were trying to bring back the old themes in some way without actually fully bringing them back. Which
I think
it failed. I think it failed. No one really remembers it.
I think it sounded like a good idea, and then it just didn't work out.
I remember when they were talking about it, and it was there was some significant. Oh, this is going to be cool. And then when you saw it, you didn't feel it. So it was like flat.
Yeah. So and then I'll just have the crap that was in Batman and Robin at the end. So yeah, that'll have that. So Izzy, run through your list quick too.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one nice and quick. 89. The score of 89 is amazing. And then when you throw in the soundtrack of Prince, also what I think about 89 is I think the score when I think of Batman, but I think of Prince when I think of Joker, which was really cool about that, right? Because all of Joker's scenes had Prince music in it, and it made sense and it worked, right? And and by the way, those videos were awesome. All of Prince's videos that he had were great. They were so stupid but awesome at the same time. So I'll go with 89. I will then go with the Batman because the Batman does have a haunting sound, right? Yeah. It's very haunting. As we talk about Batman, that movie felt very much took elements of horror movies like Halloween and things like that, and Friday the 13th to play out its characters. So it's a very haunting score in particular. So I'll put the Batman in number 2. Then I would go ahead and go to 66 because again, it is the music is just as important as the campiness of the show. So I'll put 66. The only reason why I don't put the Nolan movies is that I don't remember them as well. They don't struck a chord to me like that.
Okay.
Like I don't if I watch The Dark Knight, I'll hear it and I'll know. But still, it's like the other ones I could right now I could picture in my head and I could hear them. Where with pretty much the movies that follow that we're going to talk about quickly, I don't have that same feeling to it. It doesn't have that embeddedness into it. And I just saw Dark Knight again just not that long ago because that's one of the movies you can always watch over and over.
Mhm.
So I'll put Dark Knight in there. When it comes to Forever and Batman and Robin, I don't care about the scores that much. I love the soundtracks. Both of those albums have really good soundtracks. Forever being a better soundtrack, because U2 is in it.
Feel. I mean,
what,
Kiss from a Rose, a great song.
Great song, but not the song for Gotham. Oh no, I'm
Right.
thinking about this guy's song. R. Kelly's Gotham song. I hate that song. It is the stupidest song you ever listen. If you ever hear the lyrics to that song, he totally does not understand Gotham City. So, but those,
much like Joel Schumacher.
yeah.
Yes,
So
it all went together.
City of Justice, City of Love. I remember on there, I was like, that is so stupid. But Kiss of a Rose was definitely, everybody knows that song. So,
Mhm.
Batman Forever, the music of Batman Forever is in some cases maybe even better than the movie. Definitely the music in Batman and Robin is better than the music than the movie.
For sure.
So those are actually really good soundtracks. But that was a time that soundtracks actually meant something. Where today people don't really understand how good soundtracks really could be. Just watch the Crow movie and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, that actually does have a great soundtrack. All right, so I guess next rankings too is we got pretty much Alfred, and then the villains is going to be the tough one because there's so many.
Now, the way I did the villains, by the way, is I did it by movie.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, and that's
Okay.
fine because again, we list individual villains. I mean, that's going to be
Yeah,
gonna take
right.
a little bit.
That's a show.
We could go there forever.
Yes.
Ah.
Let's touch on Alfred though before we close this segment out with the villains. So Alfred, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll run mine down quick since there's a lot less. Michael Caine is still my Alfred.
Come on.
That's my Alfred. That's the guy. His relationship with Bruce.
What do we for, Master Bruce?
So we can learn to get ourselves up.
That's right.
And he cried the most. He actually cried.
His relationship with Bruce Wayne in those movies
beautiful.
is outstanding. I mean,
he truly loves him.
Yeah, and I really dug that. And Michael Caine's a phenomenal actor too. So I mean, you can't go wrong with that. My number 2 is Jeremy Irons as his Alfred. I liked, and again, remember he's dealing with an older. He's the only time where we get the older Bruce Wayne Batman in this. But Alfred's along for the ride, and really like his guy in the chair, his tech guy. But you can see they have a relationship where he's busting his balls a lot. Because again, I feel like I can see that relationship have gone through the kind of like the Dark Knight phase where they were like, he loved him and stuff. He still loves him, but now it's very much like, we're both older, we're both there. I'm gonna bust your balls, dude. Go out there and go find a woman or like that you need to settle down with already. Cut the crap, dude.
Well, that's the thing is, if you have an emo kid, they're a kid and you have to take care of them, right? But if that emo kid grows up to be an emo adult and you're both in your fucking like middle age to late, like, retirement age, it's like, no, I call you being emo, you little son of a bitch, but I still love you and you know it. That's that Alfred.
Well, and that's the thing. I really loved. I wish we got more of him in a solo movie.
The way I look at
what we get was great.
The way I look at those two, in particular, with Caine and this guy, I look at Caine as a father figure.
Yeah.
Where I look at Jeremy Irons as a big brother.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
That's a good way to put it.
Right, because he doesn't talk to him as if he was a parental figure, even though he is a parental figure. He talks to him like he's his older brother. Which
I agree, and that's my point is that I can see that. No, but again, though, I think what's important when looking at all these different Batman is that there are a lot of different stages in the career of Batman that we get. So what I think is we get a unique look at an older Batman for the first time in live action with Alfred who's still there. Yeah. And that's why he became the older brother, because it's like Bruce is like 50 years old now, so screw this. I'm like older brother now. Like your relationship changes, over time.
Let me say this, that if when my son hits 50, if I'm still kicking and I'm 90, that's my relationship with my son.
Of course. That's probably more the relationship that I had with my father. Honestly, in our later years, he would be more like, he would actually say, "You're an asshole. or things like that. Not like when you're younger, it's like, so, don't do that or whatever.
Right.
Like stop the cut the shit. Then eventually it's just like your relationship evolves to that. And that's what I liked about Jeremy Irons' portrayal of Alfred and those. I'll have to go with Michael Go, I guess.
Wow.
But hold on, these next two I'm going to preface though.
I'm surprised.
Is it Michael Gould?
Is it Gould?
Yeah, it's Gould.
Okay,
I
had no idea. No, Ed. I have the same thing. I'm just surprised that you were agreeing with me on this.
I have a feeling our rankings are exactly the same.
Okay.
But I will say though, this one is definitely pending because, and I'll get to that in a second. Because in Batman '89, I love him in that. Returns, same type of thing. He captures what I want the Alfred relationship to be. And then in Forever and Batman and Robin, he stuck around and everything went off the rails, including
the man works with what he has.
I agree. He went through a lot of shit, and I give him credit for that though. He stuck around.
Yeah,
Andy Serkis comes in at 4 for me only because of time served. I think there's a lot of potential. I really liked the little bit we got of Andy Serkis's Alfred. We just didn't get he doesn't get a lot of screen time at all. I think he's like in 3 scenes maybe. And that's it.
He gets very little, but the parts that he gets, he actually does take.
Yeah, he crushes it in the scenes he's got. And especially we talked about last week, the scene in the hospital where they establish, when Bruce says, I don't want to go through losing myself and stuff like, losing another loved one. They really bond right there. And in the first scene in the movie, it's like, you're not my father, and he's like, I'm well aware. So you can see they have a very strained relationship at that point. And over the course of the film, it kind of comes around. So I'm really curious to see in the sequel how that develops. Because I could definitely see it going the Michael Caine, route again. Because I keep referencing back to that because that's the ideal Bruce Alfred dynamic that I think we like. And then I'll go with Alan Napier from '66 in the last one because whatever, he's working with what he's got. I personally think he's the most forgettable Alfred on the list, but whatever.
Man, he went out to the fields with them at times, man.
Oh, I know. We went over it in the movie when he's in the
mask and everything, man.
Yeah, that I thought was interesting.
I say he's the most physical Alfred out of all.
So I would like to put all the bats.
I can see Jeremy Irons kicking some ass.
Oh no, I agree, but screen time wise, Alan Napier, he actually went out to the fields.
So Jason, what do you got? I have a feeling our rankings might be exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take this moment to work on my Michael Caine impression because our thing is exactly the same, Master Ed. And the thing is, I even put Serkis behind Gao because of time served, which is very strange that we've been doing this podcast a bit too long. But yeah, no, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I've done my Michael Caine impression. I've practiced a bit. But yeah, and for all the same reasons you said, I've got nothing new to say.
Oh, wow. Okay. Izzy, what are your Alfred rankings?
It's got to be Michael Caine. He has the best lines. He has the best lines. He has the best scenes. He's the most connected to Wayne than any other of them. Then I'll put Jeremy Irons as a close second because I think he did play a very different version of Alfred that we've seen prior, and it was a version of Alfred I liked, which I was very happy to because I did like the way he would talk to Wayne. He would tell Wayne things and he would like, I don't care how you feel. Just, either do it or not, or shut up pretty much. Right. So, again, another performance we didn't get a lot of, which I hate saying. Number 3, Michael Gould, because he was in all 4. He had to deal with 3 different Batman. And I can just imagine.
Why do you look so different this time around?
He's like, hey. and what's also interesting about his Alfred is his Alfred really wasn't as he was a butler. That's what he was. His version of Alfred was a butler until that last movie where they was like, yo, Michael, we're gonna give you some time. And he's like, okay, what you do with me? We're gonna give you a disease and we're gonna have you get ready to die. and he was probably like, I'm gonna die in like a few years from now because he was pretty old already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he played Alfred longer than anyone else, and he probably stayed that way too. Then we have Andy Serkis, and I agree with you. And I don't have to add more, but we just didn't get enough screen time, and at that only time will tell. Alan Napier is also a great. I loved him as Alfred. He was always a fun Alfred too. And the one Alfred that everybody forgets, Douglas Hodge. Now, he's the last on the list. And now the reason why everybody forgets this Alfred, and you did say live action, is because this Alfred is of the Joker movie.
Oh, we were referring to Batman movies because I was thinking more.
I know what you mean. That's why I said this is the one we all forget, right? And again, not much screen time either, but he's a live action Alfred in a movie that Bruce Wayne happens to be in, and that's about it. But that's just throwing a little, here's one that we won't cover, but
yeah, because we're going to cover Joker in a few.
Yeah, weeks. Joker. I want to see it again too. So
yeah. So all right. So the villains. I guess this might be a quick curveball. Okay. But I think maybe should we rank them overall, or you want to just go by iterations of a character? Quick. Again, we do get multiple versions of some and not so much with others.
I have it broken down for movies, so that's how I'm going to present it.
I think I'll give you 5 because that's probably all my brain could handle.
Yeah, because there's a lot of villains to rank. So, man,
but I think number 1 is always going to be a simple one.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Jason, you can start us off with the villains.
All right.
I have a funny feeling I know who number 1 is. So
yeah, so number 1, it's the Dark Knight. Obviously, it's the Heath Ledger Joker, but also the Two-Face. I think everyone fawns over the Joker, and the fucking Joker's great in that movie, but Two-Face is also fantastic in that movie.
Absolutely.
Then I got Batman '89 because again, guys, this was one of the first movies I saw in the theater. Then I got The Batman. Straight up, I really enjoyed this version of, we get Falcone, who's actually a presence and someone important and a good actor, and then we get a Riddler that's a serial killer, which not my Riddler, but still super cool. Yeah. And we get the Penguin, which was my huge takeaway from that movie. I love that. So I think the Batman has my third favorite grouping of villains. Then I'm putting 66, guys, because look, 66 has all the coolest villains. Burgess Meredith's Penguin, Cesar Romero painting his freaking mustache, Frank Gorshin prying his way, getting himself away from the many orgies he had with Adam West, apparently in his biography, and Julie Newmar, right? That's Julie Newmar in that one.
Julie Newmar, yeah,
right. Being one of 3 awesome Catwomen, so I love the 66 villains. Then I go Begins, because I really do like that version of Scarecrow. I just wish I saw more of them. And of course, Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I think it's Ra's.
I think it's Ra's, yeah. So I mean, Liam Neeson, taking Batman under his wing. Mm-hmm. I've taken you, Batman, under my wing. Thank you. And then Returns, because I hate the Penguin in that, but I love Danny DeVito, and I do actually really like that weird version of the Catwoman. It's weird, but I like it. Then I go Rises, because I just fucking hate Bane. And that movie does him it doesn't make me love him anymore.
Well, what about Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, though?
That wasn't a villain. She's not a villain.
Okay.
Yeah, so not a villain.
All right, that's fine.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, but
she does fuck Bruce over drastically a couple of times.
Yeah, but again, nothing she does is overtly villainous. Yeah, she fucks him over, but because she thinks she's trying to help herself, and she was raised and has the mindset of only you will help yourself. So you
Okay.
got to fuck over anyone. So not a villain. I liked her Catwoman though, but
Yeah, me too.
I actually like. I mean, if we're talking Catwomen, I like the Batman Catwoman is my favorite so far. I thought she's kills it. Then after Rises, we got Batman and Robin, because at least there's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman. And then it's Batman Forever, and it's not even long. I don't even lay that at the Riddler's feet. It's fucking Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones playing a two-faced Joker. That was what the hell was going on. He was like, if you ask me what the worst part of any Batman movie was, it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, he didn't like doing it either. So he was another one.
He liked cashing his paycheck.
It was a cash grab, but he knew he wanted to kill Carrie. Like,
yeah, no, we talked about that on that episode.
Well,
they really had a lot of beef with them.
But that's also why his performance sucks so much, is because he's trying to out, as Tim said, he's trying to out Jim Carrey, which
you can't
good luck. You can't do. It's like try outsunning the sun. You can't do it. It's impossible.
There's only a few people that probably would have topped Jim Carrey, as far as
Robin Williams.
That's the first name I would have said. He was the one guy that could go toe to toe with a Jim Carrey character. You have to be equally as, I guess you could say, equally as nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Zany, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right, I'm going to run through mine. I'll change it up a little bit because I had put it a little bit differently. The best villains, I think, for any Batman movie, Greed is the Dark Knight. Obviously, Heath Ledger is the Joker. And for me, he's the best Joker that we've ever gotten. So that's where I go. And Two-Face, because of Heath Ledger's performance, does get overshadowed a lot, but he's fantastic as Two-Face in that movie. And he's one of the two that we've gotten so far, and he's obviously the superior version of Two-Face in that movie.
Way more superior.
Exactly. So that's where I'll go with that. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Batman. I'm going to go, I love this version of the Riddler. I mentioned it last week. I was all about it. Penguin, Colin Farrell's Penguin is fantastic in this movie. I know earlier today they officially announced his HBO limited spin-off series. Can't wait to see that. And Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman is awesome. She is also my number one Catwoman. So I got my favorite Riddler, which is only 102. Get it? Not too many is only 2. Got my favorite Penguin and my favorite Catwoman in all the same movie. In my second favorite Batman movie of all time. So it would only make sense that they're at number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go with Batman 89. Because, Jack Nicholson's Joker is iconic. I've taken my shots over time with him as Joker per se. But, yeah, he's an iconic turn as the villain in that movie. Bob the Goon is also fantastic as his guy.
Bob the Goon.
Can't forget about Bob the Goon in that movie. Is also Boss Grisham as well. Jack Palance is fantastic. Yeah. So
you are my number one
guy. So, yeah, I'll go with
them.
Who
did Jack Palance play again? What was his character's name?
Boss Grisham.
Yeah, Boss Carl Grisham.
Okay,
Carl Grisham.
Yeah, I forgot.
And number 4, I'm going to go with Batman Begins. I've talked about it on this show, and I'm sure on a Double O Deep Dive. I love Liam Neeson. Whenever Taken Part 19 comes out, I'm all about it. I go there. I love seeing Liam Neeson kick ass. So I'm in that, and
he's like the new version of Jean-Claude Van Damme back in the 90s.
And it makes no sense, and it shouldn't happen, but I love it. So
there it is.
Whatever, bring it on. But I think he's great in this movie, and he's the only live action Ra's al Ghul. I know in the movie they say Ra's, but whatever, go with it. That's the only one we've got. So that's it. And Scarecrow, we also get a live action Scarecrow. And Cillian Murphy is really good at
it.
What I always find interesting about Cillian Murphy is that he actually went for the role of Batman. I'm shocked. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Even
it's like Tom Hiddleston going for Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like what? Yeah, it's like you sure you do?
Guys, tell me you don't want to go to the alternate universe where Tom Hiddleston played Thor. And Helmsworth played Loki, and Cillian Murphy played Batman, and Bale played the Scarecrow. Tell me you don't want to go there and watch those movies.
Believe it or not, I could see Bale do a Scarecrow.
Yeah, look,
I could see Bale do a
Bale's
Scarecrow.
a
Bale can do anything he wants.
Anything.
After seeing what was it, the Mechanics or the Machinist?
The Machinist is insane.
I never got to finish the movie because I was too disturbed by the way he looked.
He starved himself for weeks,
but then beefed up for Batman Begins right after that.
That's insane.
I think the man actually is a Terminator from the future who's got his program wired to be the best damn actor in the world, which is the only reason he did that Terminator Genesis movie.
Oh, Terminator Salvation.
Oh, Salvation.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Salvation.
you're right.
It's okay.
He was
it doesn't matter.
John
Neither
Connor.
one's worth it anyway. So
they're not great. I do admit though that I don't hate Salvation as much as most do, but I'm not.
I went to see it. I went to theater to see it, and I don't remember it. I don't remember a thing of it.
There's not that much memorable.
Yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
I just thought it wasn't.
But I am an apologist for Terminator 3. I like Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Wow,
it's better than most.
It's
better than most.
It's not bad.
So the next in my rankings, which I have a feeling Jason is going to get really angry with me right now, I am going to say The Dark Knight Rises.
Bane?
Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to explain why.
You upset?
All right.
You know how much I mock the Bane voice. I do it probably more than I should.
It's true.
And I will again. And I think the Bane voice brings me some joy in some ways that it shouldn't. So I'm going to give it credit for that. And it is also my second favorite Catwoman and Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
That's why I'll go with Rises. Talia al Ghul's like the worst in that movie, so whatever. And then after that, I will come in with Batman Begins. Michelle Pfeiffer is there. I don't like Danny DeVito's Penguin.
You mean Returns.
I'm sorry, Batman Returns. My bad. Yeah. I'm sorry. Batman Returns, I'll go then. Because
don't forget Max Shrek.
Oh, darn it, you messed it up for me. I was going to hold that.
I was going there.
I was holding that one. I love Shrek.
When we talked about Batman Returns, we said the real villain of the movie is Max Shrek.
Max Shrek, yeah.
And I'll say, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, a lot of people love it. I don't love it because she doesn't actually cat burglar or anything and actually gets a zombie and she's bitten by a bunch of cats. It gets weird.
It's stupid
and
shit.
And Danny DeVito's Penguin turned into a mutant. So that's where I'll go with that. Then I will have to say the 66 crew, which we went over. They do have all the villains there. Not going to rehash that again. Then Batman and Robin. I'm with you on this. Batman and Robin because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Over the top, insane Mr. Freeze.
Sing!
Go sing! Come on, sing! Cool party. Yeah, I mean,
best gown ever.
Yeah, I'll go with all that. Bane is awful in that movie, and Poison Ivy's pretty bad too. But
Poison Ivy's fun. I don't know. I kind of think she's fun in that movie.
I found her extremely.
She's annoying, but she's fun.
And then Forever is last. I mean, I don't like Jim Carrey's Riddler at all. Didn't like him in the least. And Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face thingamajig, that was awful. He looked terrible. He acted terrible. And I like Tommy Lee Jones as an actor, but it's hard to watch. So, Izzy, I'll turn it over to you. What are your for per movie, I guess?
Yeah, it's so weird. But, I'm with you guys on number one. I think it's hard to debate, Heath Ledger. It's hard. It's how can you? It's like there is someone out there that just doesn't like the Heath Ledger version of Joker, and I can understand that because it's kind of different from the comic book version. But what he did with that character is just he owned it. He owned every scene in that movie, and that movie just wouldn't be the same movie if he wasn't in it. That's bottom line. End of story with that one. I do love the 66. So I'm going to put my number 2 as the 66 Batman movie because they're fun. They're just fun. Nothing beats Cecil Romano playing Joker, and you could see through that he has a mustache and he didn't want to shave it. And nor the fact that why do they need to wear masks? when they're committing some kind of robbery, and everybody, it's the Joker with a mask. How does he look different? And it's just so stupidly ridiculous. But that's what's so great about it. You know what I mean? Those guys were I think from what I know, they were handpicked to play those roles, and they made it. You know, they made it what they were. So I have to pick the 66 version, and I love that Riddler. Frank Gorshin's Riddler is my favorite Riddler because he does play two characters. He was more Two-Face than Tommy Lee Jones was Two-Face.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Right? Because, when he was in the suit, he was the dapper Riddler. But when he got into the costume, he was what Jim Carrey was trying to pursue in his version. So I got to pick 66 as my number 2. Number 3, I gotta put Batman Returns only because I think Christopher Walken. That's it. Not because of Catwoman, not because of Penguin.
Yeah.
Because of Christopher Walken. One, because I love Christopher Walken.
He's wonderful.
I love him in anything he does, and especially in SNL.
Colonel Angus.
You gotta have more cowbell. You know what I mean? I got a fever. So just because and Shrek's one of those guys that I don't really think he's in the comic books, or if he ever put it. They might have put him in the comic books, but I'm not sure. And I would love to see a rendition of Shrek in the comics. So I have to put Returns just only because of him. He was the best part of that movie to me personally. And then Catwoman follows that one, and I think come on guys, Michelle Pfeiffer in that outfit. You said it best, right? Come on. You can't beat that outfit, man. That outfit is iconic.
It is iconic.
You know what I mean? It's like, yes, every moment. Yeah, exactly. To the point that they were talking about bringing her back too. But I don't know if I want to see Michelle Pfeiffer. She still looks great.
I'm sure she looks great, but I mean, I don't believe like a 60-year-old woman's jumping
that's
around.
what I'm saying. That's so maybe we could just leave it with the fantasy there. Number 4, Batman 89, because Jack Nicholson owned it. He was our Joker before Heath Ledger.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And everybody was talking about you're gonna try to top Nicholson, and Heath Ledger has really said, I'm not gonna try to top Nicholson. I'm gonna just be someone different. To the point that when this guy tried to do it in Suicide Squad, he failed miserably because he tried to do the same. He tried to do the same formula, and it failed because he was not a good Joker. The best parts of Nicholson was, and Heath Ledger for that matter too, is that what makes a good Joker is that they're doing diabolical things, but they're making you laugh while they're doing it, right? That was the problem with what's his name? Why his name is escaping me? Suicide Squad's version of Joker.
Jared Leto.
That was the problem with Jared Leto's Joker. He didn't understand that Joker is supposed to make people laugh, even though he's doing diabolical things, right? He could be scary as hell, which Heath Ledger was, and Jack Nicholson for that matter. They both were scary as hell, but when they had their comedy was on point, right?
Yeah, there's a commitment to the bit, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that, we're going to talk about Mask of the Phantasm, something that Mark Hamill does really well, too.
Perfectly, yeah.
Right? So it's like you are laughing with them, and you feel weird doing it because you know what they're doing is wrong. So that was what's great about Nicholson. And, Batman Begins, Scarecrow is one of my favorite characters just because he doesn't get as much love as the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to pick Scarecrow. And I would have loved to see the other version of Ra's al Ghul. You know what I mean? Ra's al Ghul, this guy, I forget his name too. Mike, is it Mike or Wantanami? Ken Wantanami.
Yeah.
The original,
I would have liked to, because when I saw that he was going to play Ra's, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And he really wasn't. I was like, ah.
Yeah, it was
they kind of messed that one. They dropped the ball there because I think he would have done a really good job there. So I said 5, and I'm going to stick to that 5. But I do have a little soft spot for Jim Carrey's movie. I don't know why. I just do. Something about it. It makes me laugh. So, but definitely not Tommy Lee Jones. I'll agree with you on that guy.
No, for sure. All right, so I guess that brings us to our next couple of segments. We'll just be kind of talking about Batman the animated series and overall, but we decided to take a look at some of the movies from Batman the animated series because again, we're not going to cover how many seasons there were of the show. I mean, I believe it was 7 or so, and it went on forever. So we do have that. Nice.
This is gorgeous. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we'll get into that. I guess brief things on maybe your introduction to Batman the animated series. Like, it's funny you have that. Is that a box set of Batman the animated series that you got?
No. So this is a book. So this is a book, and what it is really it's just like a cover art for each of the episodes. So if you look here, you'll see like cover art for each episode.
Nice.
So like the mood of there's some really cool ones. Tiger, like pretty much the artist. Look at this one right here. Heart of Ice.
I was about to be talking about SubZero too.
Yeah.
Nice. Well done.
I think there's one on SubZero here and Mass.
Yeah.
So while we talk about it, I'll see if I can find it somewhere.
All right. So yeah, I as a kid around Jason's age when Batman the animated series dropped, I was all about it. You can see it's heavily inspired by Batman '89 and Batman Returns, which is great. I mean, I think it worked. It was very smart for Warner Brothers to jump on that, strike while the iron's hot and go with something based on that, but still became its own thing completely as time went on. Yeah, and Jason, you've said repeatedly that you feel this might be the best to the comics motion version of. We'll leave it at motion version, not because it's not live action, of the Batman that we get in the comics, like ever. You don't think this will ever be topped?
No, I don't, because some of these episodes are direct comic inspirations. So the Joker fish episode of, I don't know if you guys remember it, but it's where Joker poisons the fish, and all it does is give them a smile because he's trying to copyright it, that's directly from the comic.
Yeah.
But then this show also does things that are better than the comic, like introduce a one Harleen Quinzel. This Batman the Animated Series is responsible for Harley Quinn.
Nice.
It's responsible for the sort of popularity of Mr. Freeze, because my favorite episode of all the animated series is Heart of Ice. I think that's what it's called, and it's the Mr. Freeze episode. And so we're going to be talking about Mr. Freeze SubZero. Before that, my favorite episode of Batman the Animated Series, and it's literally the 4th episode of the run, is Heart of Ice, because it gives us this cartoonish character. Mr. Freeze, if you watch him on the Adam West show, is a cartoonish, ridiculous character that you could go, you can't make this work. This is ridiculous. This is just
he's comical. He's comical, and even in camping standards, he was comical. It was bad. It was bad.
For sure. At one point, he actually has different panels in a room to change the temperature so he can walk around. It's so stupid. But then you get this episode, right? Where it's you get the tragic backstory of he's a scientist working in the art of cryogenics, which was huge in the 80s and 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how the human race thought it was going to gain immortality, was just to freeze themselves so everything can be cured. And his wife gets super sick and he's trying to cure her, and no, the freaking the capitalist scum come in and destroy your work. It's a beautiful episode. It turns this joke character into a character with serious weight, and I really believe it's why we get the Batman and Robin. That's why he's our villain in Batman and Robin, because of Batman the Animated Series. So that's my connection to it. This is my Batman. I love the characterization on all of these characters. It's my favorite, and that's it. I'll stop. I'll drop my soapbox and stop praising it now.
No, it's fine. And I mean, I guess I could echo a lot of what you had said, because I mean, I still remember when the series kicked off, I was still riding high on the Batman '89, and I remember this came on, and I know they ran it on Sunday nights on Fox at one point here in New York, and then it was on at 4:30. So when you got out of school, kind of like raced home to go watch, like, well, actually, no, we were getting out at like 2 or 3. I don't know. We're racing home.
I got out at 2:30. Like,
yeah.
You'd leisurely go home.
Leisurely go home. No. Do whatever it is, and then like make sure though you were in front of your TV, whether you raced and did your homework maybe, or whatever the hell you were trying to do. You had to make sure you didn't miss an episode, and that's kind of where I was at with it. Adored the run of it, still do to this day. Went grabbed the box set the second it came out on Blu-ray. That's why I actually have the T-shirt with the eyes glow in the dark. By the way,
nice.
The eyes glow in the dark, and sometimes I'm walking around the house, I'm wearing a shirt. Angie will start laughing. She's like, "That just looks ridiculous." You realize that, right? Like, so, but I know I love it. Yeah. So, and it's just it's such an incredible iteration of it. Oh boy, here we go. Of course, we'll drop this in because we can't have a Batman episode without this.
Wait, Rick. Wait. Why did you say that name? Why?
Which is not mentioned, by the way. I know it was barely mentioned in the Batman, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, no, I love everything we've gotten from Batman the Animated Series. We had before we went on live, Izzy had brought to my attention about giving Batman Beyond a chance because it is a follow-up or is a continuation of Batman the Animated Series. So, we will take a look into that further. Because I admit, I kind of like never really gave it, its fair shot. But this
it needs his love. I'll give it to that much.
Yeah,
I was skeptical about it too.
Yeah,
first,
so
but
this also came in during an era in the 90s where we got Batman the Animated Series on Fox, we got the Spider-Man animated series on Fox, and X-Men.
That's so good.
Well, X-Men came before Spider-Man, so
it
was Batman. It was Batman and X-Men that came out. Batman came out
and then
slightly before X-Men.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man, and it's just those are like, to me, is like the holy trinity almost of like animated superhero TV shows. I mean, they're all fantastic. But Izzy, what was your introduction to Batman the Animated Series?
So, like you guys, Batman the Animated Series came out right after the movie. I don't know if it came out after '89 or
it did. It came out after '89.
It was like right between the two, right?
Yeah, I think it was like, if I was reading up on it yesterday. It dropped. It was in production. Actually, it was in production as Returns was in production.
So so it was going. Yeah, so that's why you see a lot of the Penguin looking a little bit not 100%, but looking with the fin hands and stuff like that. So I was a teenager. I was becoming a teenager at that time, and one of the things I used to do is I would record every episode, right, on my VHS tape, right, and I had the collection in that format. And what was so good about it is that every episode, even the bad ones, because there are a few bad ones, they're not a lot.
Oh, for sure.
There are a few bad ones, but even the bad ones are still better than other things that you see out there, right?
Agreed.
There's this one episode where he's like locked in a box because they're doing kind of like this slave trade thing. There's no real villains other than like a crime boss of something like that. It was okay, it's fair. But what I enjoyed about it is that every villain, they put thought into every villain, even the ones no one really thought about, right? And we were introduced to villains. Again, Freeze, perfect example.
Yep.
We knew of Freeze, but we knew of Freeze from the TV show, but he didn't get as much love as the other guys, right? We got this Batman the Animated Series also introduced us to Two-Face, where no one knew Two-Face before the animated series. The only people that knew who Two-Face was the comic book people, right? And part of the reason we got, if you go really going back, the 66, they tried to do Two-Face, but they didn't do it. They ended up doing what's called No Face.
Yeah,
right? So
there was something like that.
There was a character called No Face, which was technically Two-Face, but it wasn't. And to the point that when they did the new animated cartoons with Alan, they ended up introducing William Shatner to be Two-Face, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, that was actually great.
So we got Two-Face for the first time. We got Clayface for the first time. We knew of Scarecrow because it's the Super Friends, Legions of Superheroes, but we got to really see Scarecrow and how scary he could really be.
Mhm.
That's a great point.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we got characters that we didn't even think about, like Clock King, which was a cool character.
Best episodes is the Clock King episode.
And his origin was awesome too, right? Clock King, Mad Hatter was also. I love Mad Hatter's like trench coat, the way he looked.
Yeah.
I didn't like when they did it for the latter series.
When they changed the animation of the animated series,
I thought the original, Mad Hatter look was really cool. So you got one thing I can say.
The ventriloquist. Oh yeah, another one. Yeah.
Scarface, and they messed that one up too when they did the updates, and things like that. So you got so many villains that were introduced. Oh, Killer Croc was another one that was introduced. Again, the list goes on and on. But every single one of them was good. And every single one of them made you understand why Batman has the best rogue gallery. Right? The other aspect of it is that they also introduced us to the crime lords that we never got beforehand. The TV shows didn't give us that. So we got all the crime lords that came along with it, and so that to me was what made Batman awesome, made it great. And the fact that he was Batman and he had episodes with Robin was also cool, because it was like before Batman the animated series, everybody was like, we hate Robin, we never want to see Hot Robin again, right? And to the point that they killed him off, and it really was just like this one guy that really killed him off. If you ever hear the story. So we got Robin back, and we got a good Robin, because that story that they did with Robin, with Tony Zuko, was brilliant.
Oh, that's brilliant. And even the fact that Robin becomes Nightwing, and the reason he becomes Nightwing is because of animosity between him and Bruce. Like, that's another thing I love about the animated series is it focuses on Bruce's relationship with Robin, with Dick, but also it's the first time we see that, Bruce is not the best dad. He can't be. He's kind of crazy, and that's fine, but that's going to cause problems. And so when you see them have animosity after he becomes Nightwing, I think that's so brilliant for a cartoon.
Yeah, which they captured and they followed up we covered season 3 of Titans.
Yes, Titans did that brilliantly.
Runs with that, tremendously.
And the last thing is the style that they went with, the fact that they were drawing on black paper to make the art. So it wasn't white cells, it was black cells, and they painted over it. That by itself, animation standards, is ridiculously well put out and well thought out. What a lot of people forget is that this is coming from the same team that was doing Tiny Toons and Animaniacs.
Because they were.
It was the same team.
Yeah, and I remember they used to show them back to back on Fox, like when it was.
Yeah,
on,
so they were. Yeah. So the guys who gave us Tiny Toons, which by the way I also loved, those were the guys that gave us Batman the Animated Series, and they're two completely different cartoons. My last thing that I want to point out that I absolutely love: every Christmas I watch Christmas with the Joker. Every Christmas is
fantastic episode.
Gotta watch Christmas with the Joker. Mark Hamill, greatest Joker of all time, better than Heath Ledger, and there I said it.
See, personally, I we talked about this. I can't put animated people doing voice work with live action. That's just me. A lot of people can do it. I just my only personal preference. I gotta separate them, but
because I've seen Mark Hamill play it.
And that's fine. No, but Mark Hamill as the Joker, he's the best voice, animated Joker that there will ever be. I can't imagine. There's been other good ones, but nobody's like Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill crushes it in this role.
That's who I hear when I hear the Joker. I hear Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy for that matter. For
Batman, yeah. And again, there's been other good. I think there's been other good animated voices for both Batman and Joker in the DC animated universe. But yeah, there'll always be the iconic, like the number ones that you go to.
I actually heard the best advice on how to do a Mark Hamill Joker impression is you start saying something very high and then you go very, very low.
That's really good.
That's actually good.
That was good.
I mean, doesn't that work?
That works.
Because it's theatrical. He understands the theatrics behind the Joker.
Yeah,
he does. Yes, and
So,
what I love about Mark Hamill is back in the '90s when this show was on and everything, people would. Oh wow! Thanks, Rick. Wow, that's coming from Rick. Shit,
Wow.
I can retire right now. I'm getting the vapors. But Mark Hamill used to have this thing where people would come up to him and go, "Oh, can you do the Joker impression?" He'd go, "Yes, but turn around. You can't watch me."
Before.
oh,
Yes, Rick. We love you, Rick.
most people don't know he also played Hobgoblin in Spider-Man the Animated Series.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
But it's funny because when I watch that, I hear Joker talking.
Yeah, right.
Not that much different. Wasn't that much different.
All right, so let's jump into our two Batman animated series.
Yeah. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes into this. We haven't even gotten to these freaking movies.
Yeah, let's get to them. Batman and Mr. Freeze SubZero it was released direct to video. And Izzy and I, actually the three of us had separate conversations about this, but that's why I don't see us deep diving too much into this one. As a movie, it doesn't work too great. It tells a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a great pick though, because it does serve well as 2 episodes of the animated series.
It really
back,
is.
and it's a good sampling.
100%.
Because we're not going to get into every episode of the animated series.
We can.
We would have to do a whole separate podcast on that. So we'll go, but it's a solid story. It follows up on Freeze's origin story that we got in the animated series very well.
Because in the first season of the animated series, like until it changes animation style and changes show direction, we only get the one Freeze episode and this. So it's literally, this is the follow-up. This is like the sequel to that very popular episode.
Yeah, and I think it works in that sense. And we also get, like Izzy had mentioned, we got Robin, a cool Robin back in this. We also get Batgirl in this episode too, which Izzy, I know you wanted to go ahead.
I got things to say about that.
This is me teeing you up for that discussion because this is a all-in discussion. What are your thoughts on Batgirl and SubZero? Hated it.
I hated it, and I'll tell you why. We get Batgirl for 5 minutes in the movie, and then she's Barbara Gordon throughout the whole movie. And then to top it off, what I also didn't like about this Batgirl is her voice annoyed the crap out of me. They ended up hiring someone else. Before that, we had Melissa Gilbert was the voice of Batgirl, and I think Tara Strong also voiced Batgirl at some time. And when I hear Batgirl, I hear their voices. When I heard this Batgirl, I heard this, what you doing? It sounded like an old woman. And every time she spoke, I just wanted to shut off the TV because it was so bad to me. It just didn't sound right. It didn't work well. If it was the first time you hear Batgirl in this voice, you're like, ugh. So yeah, I just didn't like that. And the fact that you're gonna give me you're throwing Batgirl here, and she's only Batgirl in the beginning, and that's about it. She's not even Batgirl with the rest of the guys. She's just beating up some punks to save this one, this one victim out. So very, very disappointed by that Batgirl. I do remember watching this movie years ago, but I forgot a lot of it. And I know why I forgot a lot of it.
Well, it sounds like you didn't enjoy it, really.
I was not a big fan of this movie in particular because I think it was created for the fact that it was supposed to be a sequel to the Heart of Ice episode. But what I also learned is that as I was looking at the credits, there's very important people missing in this movie. And I'm talking about the Bruce Timms, the Paul Tinis, the Alan Burnett. None of them had to do with this. We ended up getting a Boyle Kurtman, I believe that's his name, or something like, or Kirtland. He ended up doing the work, which he did do some work in the original animated series, and some other guys. So their presence was sorely missed. You could tell that this was not it. The writing of it was kind of cheesy. I didn't like Gordon either. Like I didn't like Commissioner Gordon, how he was.
So I wanted to mention something about Gordon. I thought it was a little bit weird, and I want to know what you guys thought of this. What is with Jim Gordon like shipping Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon like hardcore
That's
at that
weird.
point?
That's
what the
weird.
hell was that about?
Like if you play your cards right, son, and like
he's trying to get her hitch.
Right,
If you play your cards right, you're gonna get lucky with my daughter. But don't forget, there's a lot of people lining up to date her. I'm like,
that's like one of those weird things where your dad, it's like yeah, have you seen my daughter's butt? Look at that thing.
Yeah, he was kind of talking about her like that. I was like, well, this is
it was disgusting. It was just bad writing.
It's weird, and I think that's what sets this apart from Mask of the Phantasm is. Like, as we said, this is a great 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series. It's not a good movie because it's not well written. Like, it's well written for what it is, a direct-to-video Batman the Animated Series. But, yeah, I mean, and also the fact, guys, like, the whole plot is Mr. Freeze a submarine comes to the middle of the Arctic and destroys Nora's like enclosure, and then he wants to save her, so he kidnaps his old colleague. And the only person, literally, they have a whole list of 20 names, and the best name is "Let's kidnap the commissioner's daughter." What the fuck are you talking about? Get out of here. You live in Gotham City. You know what the one name you avoid on that list? The commissioner's daughter. Because you know who they're going to come after? The commissioner's daughter. It was dumb.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that was actually really, really weird. That they so you have a list of 17. Let's pick Barbara Gordon off that list. Because his wife needed Nora Freeze needed a new kid.
And you're going to tell me, I understand
that was the whole thing.
Right. You could tell me it's such a rare type that the only person ever to have this blood type just happens to be Barbara Gordon. You could tell me that's the only person in the world that
there was 17.
That's the thing. There were 17 people.
17
on that
names
list.
come up, and they randomly pick Barbara.
No,
Gordon.
but because of her height and her weight.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. It's not even random. He says this Barbara Gordon. Yes. She'd be perfect. And it's like, yes, if her name was Barbara Smith and she wasn't the commissioner's daughter, she would be physically perfect for your weird cryogenic experiments. But the fact that she's a commissioner's daughter ensures you are getting caught.
That's not like the greatest plan. But I will say Mr. Freeze, though, has 2 polar bears with him.
Which is awesome.
Okay, I love the polar bears. I will say the polar bears
it's crazy, but I dig it.
But the one thing that I was like, I have to take a mental note of this. What the hell were they doing in that room? That's what I was thinking when so you know how Barbara escaped and she opens the door and the polar bears are like they're just like there and they turn around like, oh crap, what were they planning?
They were doing polar bear things.
Polar bear things,
right? It just cracked me up seeing that scene, just seeing like they literally stood there like, oh crap, she caught us.
It was weird.
We're just trying to reenact that scene from The Shining. That's all. He's got the dog mask on. It's fine.
So there was that. I did have some complaints about Freeze in particular. One of the things I didn't like about Freeze, and this is what bothered me, was that he was very emotional, right? Now, granted, his wife is, cryogenically, she's dying and all that stuff. So I get that part. But in Heart of Ice, if you remember seeing the episode, he was void of all his emotions, right? So they kind of took that. Okay. They brought it back. But, and this version of Freeze was too emotional. Like, he was always emotional, right? Okay. And that's something I didn't like. It's like, no. Yes, he cares. He loves his wife. He wants to save her. I get it. But why is he so emotional? He shouldn't have been so emotional. So they kind of like everything that they were doing in Heart of Ice, they kind of like went back on it and stuff, and things like that. And I wasn't feeling that. It just overall the other guy, Gregory Bellows, I hated that character. I thought he was with the Dune spice going on with his eyes. I didn't get that. It's like, what's with the eyes?
Well, Mr. Freeze also has his own Robin in this movie because he has Kunak.
He does, yes, which I love that.
That kid was. I like the kid. I actually
Yeah.
did like the kid,
Yeah.
especially when he's like, "You're cute," and he's like, "Oh."
Yeah, I was like, hey now, see another person to line up for Barbara Gordon.
Here's what I like about this movie is yeah, Jesus. Here's what I like about this movie is Mr. Freeze is a villain, but he's not. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the Joker or the Riddler, or he's not a villain who's like, I'm doing villainous stuff. It's like, I've got this one thing. I got to keep this woman alive. This is my wife. I got to keep her alive. I love her more than anything. Even if I don't feel it anymore, I know that that's what I have to do. She's in danger. I have to do something to keep her alive because that's literally what I live for. Like, I don't think anything he does makes him villainous in this. Like, except, I mean, of course, like abducting someone and trying to kill them. I mean, of course, that's villainous, but like, it's a different villainy. And I like that this movie, this is what I give this movie credit for, is it could have been a sequel to Heart of Ice, which Heart of Ice does that, right? His villainy is not excusable, but understandable. And this, I think, goes sort of doubles down on that without changing his character too much. So I agree that he can get kind of emotional, but I also do like that his villainy is still understandable villainy. He's not trying to take over the world. He's not trying to destroy humanity.
Mhm.
He just wants his fucking wife back. And so I give this movie credit for that it really does stay true to the Mr. Freeze this show creates.
Yes, I agree with that. I also I did like for some reason I did like Robin. Robin I did like in this movie.
Yeah.
He did a really good job, balancing the Robin versus Dick Grayson scenes.
You want to sleep with my daughter? Huh? Hey, you want to have sex
No, but-
with my daughter?
but what I did like about this Robin is that he wasn't Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Right. That's one thing I always like about Robin, that he's not Bruce Wayne. Like Bruce Wayne tries to be the player, as we call it. Right. He doesn't try to be the player. He's just trying to be
is.
right. Well, that's the best part about him is like where Batman can't get girls, he gets the girls. You know what I mean? He even gets Harley Quinn. That's a weird one in the
Which
other
is
movie.
weird. Yeah, I find that weird too.
That was a weird movie. Talk about weird. If we want to talk about movies, that Batman movie is weird. So I like Robin there. I did see another scene that I thought was stupid was the hospital scene where the nurse leaves for a second and Batman says, "Go to the computer," and he's already working the computer and getting all this information. Like, damn, I know you're good, but you throw me a password.
Just say it because he's Batman. That's it.
Right? Just throw me a password or something.
I'm Batman.
One thing with Freeze, though, I wanted to say is I do like the ending. The ending is actually really heartfelt,
Awesome.
I thought.
Love it.
Where he gets to see Nora get saved and she gets her kidney, and he's thought to be dead. Obviously not. And then he gives himself like the ice brace on his leg because his leg gets broken in the final battle and stuff. And Batman tries to save him and ends up thinking like he thinks he's dead and he falls to like perish, but obviously he doesn't.
In Batman Beyond, what happens to Freeze is crazy.
Yeah, I've actually seen that. I don't like that, and I'll tell you,
I know.
It's because this is the perfect ending for him. Like,
yeah.
As I said, he's not a villain, right? He doesn't want to possess Nora. He doesn't need to be with her. He needs her to be alive, and that's shown at the end of this. She's alive, and he's like, "All right, I'm just gonna, go."
Out.
He leaves. That's it. He goes swimming in the frozen ocean. Like, he's not trying to get her back. He doesn't, and that's why I think he is in this incarnation. He's not a villain. In Batman Beyond, they make him a villain. That's why I didn't like that episode.
Yeah.
Anything else on SubZero before we move on to Mask of the Phantasm?
Bellows' death is the best death ever. He was a one-note character. I never got him. I didn't understand how there was moments where he was like just a slime ball, but then there was moments he was like carrying. And tell me this and this, I think we could end it with this. Why is it he's trying to do this? He's trying to do this operation, so he needs Barbara to be alive, right? But yet he shoots at her.
Yeah.
Not what you want to do when there's somebody whose kidney you really need. Probably don't want to.
You need a kid. Let me shoot her randomly, and maybe I won't accidentally hit the organs I need.
Yeah,
it's just poor writing. That's all it was. It was a movie that had poor writing.
Yeah. All right, so let's get on to a Batman animated movie. Our last segment of the week is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, which a lot of people, I believe it was Richie Evans on our Facebook page, said was his #1 Batman movie overall.
And I completely see it. The only reason it's not mine is because, well, no, it wouldn't be mine. But the reason it's not on my list is because it's not live action. But again, like this is a phenomenal movie. This is not a good movie. This is not a great movie. This is a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I remember seeing it as a kid and stuff, and getting hyped up for it and stuff. Yeah, it definitely holds up. It holds up in many ways. Like I was telling Izzy before, mentioned it plenty of times. In my mind, I can't rank Batman or anything animated with mixed in with live action. They have to be separate.
Same here.
It is. So, yeah, as far as Batman live animated movies go, there's some really good ones. This is definitely one. There's some one of the best. I'll admittedly did not take my time to think about that because I really love like the Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. I really enjoy that a lot. Then it was also Under the Red Hood. I thought was fantastic as well.
But I'm gonna say this in defense of Mask of the Phantasm. This was an original story. Those were adapted from comic books.
And that is, Jason, you've taken the thought and the words out of my mouth.
You guys have been doing this show way too long. That's why.
Yes.
Jason, that's why I do give it. I'll right off the top of my head, I will say that's what it is.
You're like Worf wives now. You know what I'm saying?
we really are.
That's right. And we went to school together before that, so we've been at this for a bit.
It's true. We've known each other a long time.
And yeah, I agree with you though. That's why I'll give this being the original story and the Phantasm with the original character. Yeah, there's just a lot to love in it. And then the Joker enters the movie later on, and he's always fantastic.
He absolutely is. Yeah. But he also he's able to be fantastic without stealing the show.
Yes.
Until he has to.
Until he fair enough.
Because he becomes the main villain of it eventually.
But you don't realize, at least I didn't. When I first saw this movie, I didn't realize the Joker was going to be our main villain. No. I like when he shows up and then like he kills Sal Valestra, right? That's when he's like, "No, Sally, I'll help you." And then it's all of a sudden he's dead, and it's like, wait, people are dying in this. The Joker's the villain. Like, there's so many things where I'm like, what? But I love this movie so much, guys.
I love the Robo wife.
Yes,
that was about his whole kid. It keeps going back to her. She's cutting like the salami thing, and he's eating it, and he's having full-on conversations with her.
But it also goes to show you how nuts he was, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It just shows you how he actually is mentally ill.
Yes.
To that point, one thing I could say about watching this movie and going back to when it first came out, I was very fortunate enough to read the book, the adaptation of it, and there's what's in the book. The book, the other way around was that there was so much more Joker parts that weren't in the movie that are just perfect. So the scene where Sal goes to meet Joker, and this is the first time we see Joker in the movie, and you know how he gets on the roller coaster with Sal, he just tosses him in. In the book, he tells Sal, "Hey, first of all, you have to be this tall to get on this ride." And it sounds like, "What?" And he said, "Forget it." And he just throws him in. So I wish they would have thrown that in the movie, but apparently they didn't. Little things like that were in the book, which was so amazing. I never forgot that, to the point that for a very long time, I actually thought it was in the movie, and I forgot it wasn't in the movie, but it was such a great scene in my head. Yeah. I think overall, for a very long time, this was my favorite animated movie until you just said the movies, right? Until Dark Knight Returns came out, until Under the Red Hood came out. Dare I say, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker was another one that I still that's my favorite animated movie, Batman Return of the Joker, because it does the two together. But this is definitely, if I'm going to say anything, it is an honorable mention because I do put animated and live action together, because to me, film is film, regardless of the type of medium that's being utilized. So that's how I see it. When this one came out, obviously it was capitalizing on the bat craze that was going on in its time, but it was also a really good opportunity to go see a animated Batman movie in the movies. It didn't do well, unfortunately. It didn't do well in the
Which
movies.
is a shame.
It is a shame.
Great movie,
and it came out for a Christmas season. So I don't understand what was going on. But then again, if this was the type of movie that if it would have came out now, let's just say, people would have flocked the same way they would have done for like Spider-Verse or something like that.
Yeah.
So what I enjoyed is the overall structure of the movie. We got an origin story to Batman that was not the origin story that we all knew, right? So Andrea Belmont is introduced in this movie, a completely new character, and they made it work. And it's amazing because no one really complained about that. I didn't really hear many complaints about that
because it's not something we knew, but it also didn't contradict what we knew. So it's kind of like, here's more to the lore, and I think everyone who was a fan of this movie is just like, all right, I'm into it. Like, yeah, okay, I want to see, because I'm very fascinated about like Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, and that's kind of what this is, right? This is Batman Begins for the animated series.
Yeah, it was technically Batman Year One too, when you think of it like that. But we don't have the Catwoman, and our Catwoman in this animated series is very different from what the comic book and what the later movies would do with Catwoman. So at that particular time, they had a lot of liberties to do things differently. They were not tied into the stories, which I am sad to say sometimes the movies do. Because everybody wants to see the live action version of The Long Halloween, the live action version of Hush. Everybody wants to see it. But I have this old colleague of mine, an old friend of mine, that says, why don't you just do a new version and that people could talk about, and then they could say, this is my way. And the problem is it's dangerous, it's risky. And this was one of those movies that at that time they could have been risky and not have anybody worried about it. One, because they've earned it already, right? So Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, they earned the right to make this movie the way they wanted to without having to go into all of the stories from the past, right? Because we already had Dark Knight Returns. We already had Year One. All these things already existed when this movie came out. But they didn't use that. They used elements of it, just like we said, but they didn't go all the way. They didn't decide to make it this way. They decided to do it other ways. And they put characters that were introduced by their mythos, right? They created a universe of Batman that we all accepted. And that's what made Mask of the Phantasm so great. The fact that we're going to introduce you to Andrea Belmont. She's not part of the comic books. You don't know her in the comic books, but we're going to introduce you to her. Where in the movie, we're going to introduce you to Vicky Vale, which is part of the comic books, but very different in the comic books.
Yes.
So I love this movie. Again, another movie where the Joker was a gangster, because this version of Joker was Jack Napier.
Yep.
Yeah, this version of Joker is Jack Napier. Maybe not the same one as Jack Nicholson, but it is Jack Napier. Again,
because
we
was
accepted
a gangster, and I love that moment.
Jason, I know there was a moment you wanted to highlight that you had texted me about, with Bruce Wayne and his parents at the grave.
Oh, that's my favorite part. That's my favorite scene in this movie, where Bruce Wayne is like he's dating I forget her name.
Andrea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Andrea Belmont.
Thank you, Andrea Belmont. And like he hasn't become the Batman yet. He's been training for it, and he made the vow to his parents, but he wants to marry her, and he goes to the freaking cemetery, and he's like, please tell me it's different. Please tell me things have changed. And he's like begging his parents, and it's like him begging himself to give himself leave to have a real normal life, because his whole thing is he's done this to himself. His parents didn't do this. His parents didn't want this for him. But it's such a powerful scene. Like, it rivals anything we've seen in live action, in my opinion. Just him begging the ghost of his parents to psychologically relieve him of the burden and tell him that things are different now because he has found a reason to live. I mean, it's the most beautiful scene in this movie for me.
What I love about it is that it almost, at first, you think they gave the blessing to say, in his mind, she shows up and you've given me the blessing that I could let it go. And then to make things worse, she ends it. She decides that for obvious reasons, we know why. But she makes the decision, and it's almost as if it was almost as if they were like, no, you're cursed. In other words.
Yeah, she even says at one point, maybe they sent me and everything like that. And there's a lot of like looking to the painting or the picture of his parents and throughout this movie. I actually really enjoyed the connection to that, because that seems to be a common theme between Bruce, Andrea, and the parents, and his feeling like his whole motivation and his driving force is questioned even when he gets engaged to her. And there's bats that come flying out at the same time, but it's almost like it's his shadow haunting over him. Like the Batman is a shadow haunting over him his entire life. It's like, you better stay on course. You better stay on course. You can't deviate. You know what the plan is. You have to carry it out. And he's questioning it now.
And the first time he dons the Batman outfit in this canon is after she leaves him.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing, because he's teetering, right? There's the reality of her and the voices in his head. And then once she abandons him, he falls completely headfirst into the Batman. So, like, it's almost saying, like, if this relationship went differently, we wouldn't have the Batman.
You're right.
And I think that's an amazingly bold, thing to assert.
It still bothered him, right? So even years later, right? Just the mere mention and thought of who she was, right in the beginning of the movie, when he sees the DA, and the DA goes like, "Oh yeah, I see this," and then he goes in the room and he immediately remembers her, and that's how we get introduced to her. Like, the one that got away really was the one that could have stopped it, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Andrea, he could have not been Batman, right? If she would have continued and they would have stayed together, we would not have Batman. So she was definitely the piece that had to go in order for him to be Batman, which Catwoman couldn't do. Any other character couldn't. Vicky Vale can't do it.
Well,
she gets to him at an early point, though.
Yeah, she gets at him right at that point.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Anyone who meets Bruce Wayne after he has committed to being the Batman cannot save him.
He's already gone.
He's already gone. That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's where I think Dark Knight Rises kind of messes things up, because that's kind of what ended up.
I agree.
And it's like, you should have just killed him. That's how I look at it in that way, because of his obsession.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've as time has gone on, I think it's important to, at least from my personal thing, is that now that we have the multiverse introduced and everyone's kind of attuned or up to date on the concept of it. Hey, in the Dark Knight, you have your version. This is what happened here. In the Batman the animated series, in this version of the multiverse, this is what happened here. So especially that's kind of what it is. I mean, these are all different. So I also think it gives creative liberties to anyone who decides to do these stories. Do your own thing. There's certain things you don't change, because that gets completely insane.
Right.
But for the most part, you're able to flex and change and be creative with your own thing.
And dare I say, not since the Batman, for that matter, that I could think of, is that we're reminded of his parents and his oath, but we don't have to see the scene anymore.
Right.
This movie did not give us the pearls.
That's a great
Joe
point.
Chill. This movie
you're talking about the Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Not since the Batman movie that just came out.
Yes.
Everything prior, with the exception of some of the animators, of course,
Yeah.
But everything prior, they always go back to the pearls. They always go back to Joe Chill and that. This one we already it's like we know you know this. Mask of the Phantasm knows that you know this already,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
you know, and they say you know this, but let's do it in a different take. They're still being haunted. He's still being haunted by the ghost of his parents, but not because of the actual death, but because of the promise he made to them.
That's a phenomenal point, because you're right. It doesn't retread, like, in none of the animated series do we ever see the pearls and Joe Chill and his
They
parents
couldn't
being
really
gunned
do
down.
it either, too.
I mean, they couldn't, and it's better they couldn't, because I think what we get is so much better. We get the implication, and then in this, as you said, like, we get, okay, well, you know what? I can't be obsessed with watching my parents die all the time. So maybe simply because they can't draw it, but I'm going to be obsessed with the promise, the vow, and it becomes so much more psychological. Like, this whole thing is him. It's Bruce Wayne versus Bruce Wayne psychologically.
Yeah.
That's this whole movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you can. Yeah, no, you're right. That's a great way to put it.
And it's a shame that the Phantasm couldn't just be like Batman, because then they could have been the best couple crime fighting duo. Because the only reason he couldn't be with her after that is she kills people.
Well, the other thing that always cracked me up about this movie, and this was intentional on their part, was that have you ever noticed watching the movie when before it's revealed that Andrea is the Phantasm, every version of the Phantasm looks like a male character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then the minute they revealed it's her, which we kind of saw it coming, right? It's still a kid's movie when you at the end of the day.
Of course.
Not to saying that's disrespectful, but it's very
yeah.
it's very predictable. It's a very predictable movie, and I think we're okay with that. But the minute we find out Andrea Belma is the Phantasm, again, no one was like, "Oh my goodness, it was her," right? It was like, okay, now we'll draw her looking like a female. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
so it was funny seeing that. I will say one of the funniest moments for me is always seeing Alfred walking in on them.
Jason, we do get to see Bruce Wayne and Andrea Belmont. Oh yeah, we do.
And look, I love that Bruce Wayne from the animated series gets it on. And look, I've seen this. This has been stirred up again, the controversy. This Bruce Wayne, he goes down on women. Come on.
Oh yeah.
The animated series Bruce Wayne, he gets into that shit. He loves it.
He is a player to the fullest extent.
He loves it.
Love the fact that they play on that, because she's throwing the champagne on his face. He has 3 women there. They're all into him. Please.
That's great.
This Bruce Wayne has some wild nights, and we're not talking as Batman either.
So he has all the wild nights. It doesn't matter when it is. Batman, Bruce Wayne.
There's some nights he's like, yeah, Dad, I'm just gonna stay home today.
Whether he's punching Catwoman or pounding pussy, the man has a good time.
And there's no other better way to end the episode. Thanks for joining us tonight. As always, we appreciate it. Again, if you found this if you like what you heard tonight, you can go ahead and check it out on Facebook. Join the Granny's Peach Tea Facebook page. You can also subscribe to Pop Culture Pros Facebook page, and if you're catching us on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you're catching us on YouTube, and for Izzyverse as well, Izzy has his own channel. You can subscribe to the Izzyverse channel on YouTube. Izzy puts out a bunch of content on various different forms. And Twitter, if you're catching us on Twitter, just go ahead, follow Pop Culture Pros on Twitter, or also subscribe to wherever you found your podcast tonight. Izzy, thanks for joining us tonight, as always.
Great to be here.
Pleasure. 2 weeks in a row. Any plugs you got on the way out? I'm sorry, I got plugged your show for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But I do have a plug. I got Jim Valentino scheduled. We're gonna do it tomorrow. Jim Valentino, I mentioned it earlier today. He is one of the co-founders of Image Comics. Shadowhawk, Guardians of the Galaxy. He had a great run on Guardians of the Galaxy. Fantastic run. Definitely gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna have my conversation with him tomorrow. We're gonna talk about the Image timeline, which he wrote. It's a fun book. It's really a timeline. It's crazy. I was looking at that book just yesterday. I was like, man, he's a historian when it comes to Image comics.
Nice.
So we're gonna have that conversation tomorrow. Right now, that's pretty much all I got. I do have a lot of interviews coming on the line. Tokyo Bronx Pop, Bronx Pop or Pop Bronx. I forgot how to say it. And some other guys who I'm keeping quiet right now until I actually feel comfortable enough to reveal who I'm going to meet. But there are definitely people on the pipe dream that I'm very excited I'm going to be talking to. And as always, we're going to do wrestling. I do top 10s. We're going to do WrestleMania. So that's a big one coming up now that Stone Cold's officially in WrestleMania, which is a weird one to say. But we'll be having fun with that one. So there he is. Izzyverse, you can find it on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. There's a TikTok as well. So I'm pretty much everywhere. And if you don't find it under Izzyverse, you'll find it on Izzyverse NYC. And there's my plug. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well done. So if any other stuff you like, if you're into wrestling and your own pop culture pros, you can check out Tim and Eric on the Just Too Sweet show. They're usually on Tuesday nights. If you're into football, they actually just got a surprise episode up there of Unsportsmanlike Conduct with Tim and the boss man Faraci. So you can check that out. You could also, if you like Tim and Eric, you can check out the A to Z show, which is on Friday nights. They cover everything, Jason, from
Antonio Banderas to Zorro.
Isn't it Antonio? How do you say? Yes, Banderas.
Banderas.
Thank you, Izzy. Appreciate that.
I don't remember where I learned that from, but I remember it.
You could also got Rick is going to be joining the network shortly. He'll be doing Old Dirty Podcast or Pod Club. I think he's working the right name around right now.
So it's not Old Dirty Fighting anymore.
No, I think it's Fight. I don't know. He's changing it. He's been messing with the name a little bit. So, if you're into stuff, MMA, boxing, and stuff, he'll be covering that. If the baseball season actually gets started, you can check out the Empire 161 show for the Yankees, and you can check out the Put It in the Book show with the Mets. Giants will be covered by Faraci and Tim and Keith and Rodriguez. They cover We Stomped You Out, which is our Giant show. And let's see, what else is there? Jason, is there a show on Monday nights about James Bond movies that we have?
I think we 00 deep dive into those movies, Ed.
So what do we got coming up this week?
So this week we got coming up, we're doing a two-pronged episode. First, we're going to do our mid-franchise rankings. We're going to rank all the movies, the themes, the Bond girls, the villains, the Bonds. We're going to rank everything we've talked, Q Branch, everything we've talked about so far before we get into the Roger Moore era. And then we're going to watch what I like to call James Bond Jr., which is actually called If Looks Could Kill with Richard Grieco. But this seriously is James Bond, high school James Bond. It's James Bond Jr. It hits a lot of the beats of the James Bond movies. So I'm looking forward to getting our rankings in and then talking about this movie. And then eventually, and by eventually I mean 2 weeks, we go Roger Moore. Ed, are you excited about Roger Moore?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm always excited to go ahead and cover the shows. Roger Moore's is not my favorite Bond, but whatever. Listen, as an adult, watching with adult eyes now, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll enjoy it more than I did when I was younger. So, yeah, and you can check out the episode we recorded last night from 00 Deep Dive. Mm-hmm. We covered Timothy Dalton's last go-around in License to Kill, which we had a fun time doing that last night.
That was a fun time.
That was a great time. And next week, we'll be back with Granny's Peach Tea. Wednesday night at 8:30, back in our regular time slot for the foreseeable future. Our movie of the week will be Lego Batman. So we'll be getting into some more.
That is my number 5, by the way.
Nice. Jason has not seen Lego Batman.
I've never seen it. I'm very excited.
One thing I will say about Lego Batman: more villains than any other Batman movie combined.
Oh, for sure.
Combined.
Like it's nuts.
Now I'm excited.
Totally
now I'm
nuts.
excited.
So we'll get to see Will
And
Arnett.
you do get someone returning, so I'll give you that. I'll give you that much.
Will
And the
Arnett
role
does
he
the
was
voice
born
of
to
Batman
play.
in that movie. So we'll be checking that out. We'll be back talking about The Flash and its latest episode. And we will also be taking a look at The Boys Diabolical, which dropped its first season on Amazon Prime. So we'll be covering that. We finally get to talk about The Boys on Granny's Peach Tea. We haven't had a chance to yet because we're still waiting on season 3. So
It's been a while.
I gotta finish. I gotta start watching season 2.
it's so wild. It's so
good.
I know.
It's good
I know.
stuff.
I know a lot about it. The comic book is crazy. Garth Ennis is a man.
So check all of that out, and we'll see you next week. Everyone, have a good night. Peace.
Have a great night, everyone.